want your beans.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, August 28th, 2016. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 855.
This is No Agenda.
Assuming the role of alt-wrong and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in Austin, Tejas. We're in FEMA Region 6 in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where it's a beautiful Sunday, it's all foggy and cold, John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
I figured the weather was bad these past few days out there by you. Well, because you launched a new product, that's why.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh, the Leaner Report.
Yes, that's a new product, man.
It's a new product.
Yeah,
because it's just miserable out here. I just might as well sit here and do something.
You better explain what that is, because I liked it.
Yeah, well, the Leaner Report was initiated and sent out with the last newsletter, and it is although it'll be tweeted around, I suppose. It's a rundown of all the media outlets and which way they're leaning, hence leaner, towards which candidate and what their bigotries are, and it'll be expanded.
Now,
we'll do one every few weeks.
What I found really the most interesting is your publishing methodology.
Yes.
So the way I see it, you have a URL, and I guess that URL just stays the same. You just replace the report with a new report or an updated report when it's ready.
Well, I haven't made that decision yet, but I think that's probably what I'll do.
Yeah. I mean, I could make a page for it if you want. I mean, we could have like leaner noagendanotes.com or something. No?
Yeah. We'll just link to it in the noagendanotes.com.
Okay.
And I think we'll just keep it static. I think it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, you just use that URL and then you just keep updating the document. Well, I liked it. And what happened was when I was scouring through the pool of clips that I had assembled, of course, now I'm looking at everything in that light. Who's leaning? What is this part? I mean, there was a lot of weird stuff happening on the networks.
Oh, horrendous. I have a bunch of clips that kind of reflect some of this.
Yeah.
There was a slam piece that ABC did for some reason. And by the way, one of the things
this is the one about Obama?
No, which one are you thinking of?
Oh,
this is about Trump.
Oh, listen to this. This is ABC.
Oh, just the Obama. Oh, I got a clip. Okay, you play that, and I got a counter clip to that.
Kayla Mueller was the young American who was captured.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's my counter clip. I have the.
How can it be counter if I have the clip?
Well, you have the whole clip. The whole clip's like 4 minutes.
It's about $1.30 I got here.
Well, okay, go. Yeah, play it.
Trying to help the young victims of war. Her parents emailing ISIS from their home, their kitchen computer in Arizona. Tonight here, never-before-seen video of Mueller as a prisoner, tortured by ISIS. She died in captivity. And this evening, you will hear from her parents who say the president made them a promise they say that was not kept.
These home movies serve as a mother and father's cherished memory of a young woman full of life. A daughter traveling the world to help the innocent victims of war.
My name is Kayla Mueller.
But that all ended with this video.
I've been here too long and I've been very sick, and it's very terrifying here.
Kayla Mueller had been taken hostage by ISIS, and for the next 17 months, her parents, Carl and Marcia, would fight for her freedom. After Kayla was killed in ISIS captivity, the president came to Arizona to console the Muellers. They say he made a promise to help the foundation they set up in her name, and then broke it.
There hasn't been such a donation?
Ruh-roh.
No. I'm still waiting for that donation, Mr. President.
Today, our team pressed the White House for an answer.
Can the Mueller family expect that the president, that the Obamas will make a donation to their daughter's, the foundation in the name of Kayla Mueller soon?
As I mentioned, I can't speak to any previous conversations that they've had, but I can tell you that...
But is a donation coming?
But the foundation that Kayla's hands, that's been established in her memory, is certainly the kind of foundation that the President and First Lady have supported in the past, and I would anticipate that they would make a financial contribution to continue supporting it.
But none of that changes the Mueller's belief that the government failed their daughter.
So we put all our faith in the government, and they let us down.
Now, you probably saw the same thing I did. Is this was indeed like a 4.5 minute piece. I'm like, why?
It was it was a hit piece. I think here's what I think. If we're going to go with the leaning report,
of course, the leaner.
I think this was a pro-Trump piece because it's an associative piece. They do this all. It's a long piece. It's blasting the government for this and that, but mostly Obama. They target Obama for being a cheap bastard.
Personally
charged. And then the guy actually does a camera hit, the old man, and he says, "We're still waiting for that money." And then he turns and hits the camera, eyeballs it, and says, "Mr. President."
Oh yeah.
That was pretty nasty.
Hey,
and then
where's your check to my GoFundMe? Damn it!
And they, and then they have the nerve to have our spokeshole go up there and say, "Well, it's the kind of thing he gives money to, so he probably will give money to." What kind of a thing is that? It's the kind of thing he gives money to, so he's probably going to. Why didn't he just do it?
Yeah.
But it was, I think, associative to make, because you always associate Hillary with this.
Yeah.
And so this was a anti-Hillary, but I think they had
there's a lot in there because it's also about money to a foundation, and there was a lot of associative stuff there, and it came kind of out of the blue. It just didn't feel like, why are you doing this? It's an old
story.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the girl who was supposedly the ISIS folks.
Yeah.
They're the ones who said that we killed her with a drone. This is the woman that was in
yes, I remember the story.
In some building, and she got killed.
Yeah, I remember the story. Yeah.
And old.
Yeah.
It's an old story.
Odd they did this.
Yeah, I found it. I have it. This is a jaw dropper for me too. They did it on a Friday, which is when they don't have a big audience. So maybe there was something there, but I think it had to do with the countering the really nasty anti-Trump piece they did. Do I have it?
They're countering their own programming.
I think
Trump butt slammed on ABC.
Yeah.
Really, this is an interesting title.
Well, that's because I was going to say slammed, but you would get mad. But I think butt slammed is okay with you.
I like it. It's totally okay with me.
And Donald Trump, just a short time ago, pressed to explain why he thinks she's a bigot. You'll see how he responds. All of this tonight as a new national poll shows Clinton leading now by 10 points above 50%. ABC's David Wright, and what was said, and how even some Trump supporters seemed taken aback.
Hours before Hillary Clinton took the stage in Reno, Donald Trump dropped this bomb.
Hillary Clinton is a bigot who sees people of color only as votes, not as human beings worthy of a better future. Hillary Clinton is a bigot.
That woman behind him there appears to be shocked. Today, Clinton made her case that it's Trump who's been running a racist campaign.
Donald Trump has built his campaign on prejudice and paranoia. He is taking hate groups mainstream and helping a radical fringe take over the Republican Party.
In some of her strongest language yet, she ran down the list.
He promoted the racist lie that President Obama is not really an American citizen.
Using Trump's own words against him, she accused him of launching his run for the presidency with another racist lie about Mexican immigrants.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
There has been a steady stream of bigotry coming from him.
She also made it clear she doesn't buy Trump's new effort to reach out to African American voters.
I say this to the African American community. Give Donald Trump a chance. We will turn it around. We will make your streets safe. So when you walk down the street, you don't get shot, which is what's happening now.
Trump has stood up in front of largely white audiences and described black communities in such insulting and ignorant terms.
Today, Clinton's campaign released a new video.
The reason a lot of Klan members like Donald Trump is because a lot of what he believes, we believe in. Donald Trump would be best for the job.
For president.
Yeah.
Trump denounced her new line of attack as a brazen attempt at distraction.
When Democratic policies fail, they are left with only this one tired argument. You're racist, you're racist, you're racist. They keep saying it. You're racist. It's a tired, disgusting
That is actually the best thing he said at the end there.
It's a entire disgusting argument.
Well, what he's saying is they have nothing left to say, so they just go to the you're racist, you're racist, you're racist.
Yeah, they do that.
Now there was,
but what's new about that? I don't know. There's a counterpiece to this. I want to play it. This is, and you might want to play the thing. This is Guyane.
Oh, Guyane.
Guyane.
Yeah, hold on a second. Where is Guyane?
Okay, well, you don't have to play it.
No, I just want to know which one is it. Which Guyane?
Oh, this is RT Guyane on MOOC.
On MOOC. Oh, here we go.
Now, before you play it, just needs a setup because it's supposed to follow or come before the ABC piece I just played.
Yeah.
I think it's, what does it say here? Prelude. Well, it should have been played first. But this is pretty much the same day coverage with the same kind of quotes within, except they don't bring the racist thing in, but it has the same clip ending with Trump. This is like taking a whole different, ABC just went after him, had that picture of that woman making goofy faces. Oh, he said bigot. What does that mean? I don't know. And so instead of going in that direction, RT goes in a completely different direction because they are extremely irked by a bunch of events. Excuse me. Bunch of events that are citing them. And this is one of them, and this is Guyane, who's quite irked by this story. And this is a different direction altogether.
Here in the U.S., RT interviewed Green Party nominee Jill Stein, former Democratic candidate Bernie Sanders. We extensively covered Occupy Wall Street, hardly a right-wing movement. The fact is, we covered many movements which, at their beginning, were hardly noticed by the mainstream media. Ahead of this presidential election, Hillary Clinton and her campaign have persistently tried to somehow link Donald Trump to the Russian president, to insinuate that Trump is disloyal to his country, to discredit him and his supporters. Earlier this week, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager went on one of the major networks and tried to discredit one of Trump advisors, Michael Flynn, former head of the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, by suggesting he has some inappropriate ties with the Russian government. His evidence? Michael Flynn was interviewed by RT and was invited to RT's anniversary in Moscow, where the Russian president was also a guest.
The gentleman he brought with him to his security briefing just last week is someone who's on the payroll of the Russia Times, which is basically a propaganda arm of the Kremlin. He was sitting 2 seats away from Vladimir Putin at their 10th anniversary gala.
For Robbie Mook's information, RT stands for Russia Today, not Russia Times. And Michael Flynn is not on RT's payroll. In an attempt to brand Clinton opponents as Kremlin agents, the Clinton campaign has shown little to no regard for facts and evidence.
Former UK Independence Party leader Nigel Farage, who, as Guyane mentioned, was attacked by Hillary Clinton in her speech, has reacted to her comments. He suggested that she should rather spend more time speaking to working people than going after him with what he dubbed dodgy half quotes. Donald Trump has also reacted to the barrage of accusations towards his election campaign from his Democratic Party rival.
It's the oldest play in the Democratic playbook. When Democratic policies fail, they are left with only this one tired argument.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same bite. Everyone likes that one. Everyone likes that. Before we go too far, I don't know if you saw all of Hillary Clinton's speech, but she also launched a new angle of attack on Donald Trump. I'm not sure if you caught that or not.
Probably not.
Well, first of all, she led into it beautifully with this clip, of which I'm marginally envious.
It's also what happens when you listen to the radio host, Alex Jones, who claims that 9/11 and the Oklahoma City bombings were inside jobs. He even said, and this really just is so disgusting.
Oh.
He even said the victims of the Sandy Hook massacre were child actors, and no one was actually killed there. I don't know what happens in somebody's mind or how dark their heart must be to say things like that. But Trump doesn't challenge these lies. He actually went on Jones's show and said, "Your reputation is amazing. I will not let you down." This from the man who wants to be president of the United States.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed. First of all, she easily could have said, the No Agenda show. That's marginally envious.
There's no television involved.
But what she, really, those your examples? Hello, Clinton campaign. Come to the No Agenda show if you want some examples of Alex Jones.
My God, for 25 years, they've been growing babies in cows.
Come on. That's classic stuff right there. Yeah,
for 20 plus years, they've had glow-in-the-dark.
What's that?
I was just saying, it was a much better example.
Yeah, but there's another one they could use.
For 20 plus years, they've had glow-in-the-dark dogs you can buy that are part jellyfish.
Come on. That's what you want to play. Come on, Hills.
For 20 years, they've been growing open-air HIV corn in Texas, Protogen. You know about pharmacological corn?
The hell yeah. Yeah. Now, so she sets this up beautifully for her next attack. And this is very interesting. Now, we heard that it was coming. I heard it, I guess a day before. Someone said, here's what the speech is going to be about. And indeed, she rolled it out.
Now, of course, there's always been a paranoid fringe in our politics, a lot of it arising from racial resentment, but it's never had the nominee of a major party stoking it, encouraging it, and giving it a national megaphone until now. On David Duke's radio show the other day, the mood was jubilant. We appear to have taken over the Republican Party, one white supremacist said. Duke laughed. No, there's still more work to do, he replied. So no one should have any illusions about what's really going on here. The names may have changed. Racists now call themselves racialists. White supremacists now call themselves white nationalists. The paranoid fringe now calls itself alt-right. But the hate burns just as bright. And now Trump is trying to rebrand himself as well. But don't be fooled. There's an old Mexican proverb that says, tell me with whom you walk, and I will tell you who you are. But we know who Trump is.
Yeah, so saying that the alt-right is now supporting Donald Trump is a big attack, which I don't think there's probably 1% of people know what the alt-right is. And I'm not even sure what it is.
Well, it has to do with Breitbart. And in the same vein, and by the way, there's a little poetry. She threw a little rhyming in there.
Yeah, hey now, a little
She's
rap.
Trying to be cute.
Yeah, a little rap. Mexican rap, no less, yeah.
She, that would exactly what you played there is fine because I didn't hear it, but it fits right in with what's going on as in the playbook because that means Rachel Maddow is going to be coming out with something. And so she goes after Bannon. I only have a piece of this. Let's see where is it?
That's the Breitbart guy.
The Breitbart guy who took over the MSNBC. He took over the head of the CEO of the Trump campaign. He'll be there for a couple of months, maybe.
Yeah.
And so she comes out and she does a background on him. I only have the second half of this because it's too long.
Yeah.
But apparently he was involved with that sphere where people lived in it, like they were on the moon for months on end, something like that. I don't know if you remember that. It was back. There was a Pauly Shore did a movie about it.
The Biosphere?
Biosphere. I think he was in Biosphere 2. So she goes off on him, and this is right. If that Hillary sent the cues out, she obviously got the memo, and here she goes.
Safety issues at the Biosphere. He threatened to, quote, ram it down her bleeping throat. He actually admitted to that in court. He said, yeah, I said that. So he seems nice. Steve Bannon, Donald Trump's campaign CEO, was the guy from Biosphere 2. We learned that part of his past today. Today is also the day we learned that Steve Bannon also has a history of being arrested and charged with domestic violence. On New Year's Day 1996, police records first reported by Politico and the New York Post show that Steve Bannon's then wife placed a call to 911. According to the police report, Mr. Bannon's wife told the responding officers that he had grabbed her by the wrist and then by the neck. The report says Bannon's wife then broke away from him and ran into the house to try to call police. He reportedly chased her into the home, grabbed the phone out of her hands and threw it across the room and shattered it into pieces. The police report says responding officers did observe red marks on Mr. Bannon's wife's wrist and on her neck. Officers say they photographed those marks. They also found her phone, in fact, shattered in pieces on the floor. Prosecutors did file charges against Steve Bannon at the time. They charged him with domestic violence and battery and seeking to prevent a crime victim or witness from reporting that crime to authorities. That ends up being important. Steve Bannon was arraigned on March 12, 1996. He pled not guilty to all charges. But his wife at the time claimed in court documents that Steve Bannon and his lawyer threatened her.
Can you
threatened repercussions.
Yeah, of course.
And back it up.
Okay.
Back it up to the point where she says that turns out to be important.
Steve Bannon was arraigned on March 12, 1996. He pled not guilty to all charges.
Was it before that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Crime victim or witness from reporting that crime to authorities. That ends up being important.
Okay, stop. Now, I want you to remember that what she said.
Yeah, it's programming. That's important.
That's important. Now, we're going to play the rest of the piece, which isn't too much longer. And I want you to tell me, when we get to the end of it, what she just said there, how it applies to anything in the rest of this report.
Okay, so what was the piece that she said was important?
I'm going to back it up and play it.
Okay, hold on. We'll back it up a little more. Here we go.
And seeking to prevent a crime victim or witness from reporting that crime to authorities.
Okay.
That ends up being important.
Okay, so important is that he tried to prevent a witness from reporting a crime.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what you do when you, I mean, the guy's a douche.
Yeah, it's a bogus charge. It's just you add charges onto, the guy also walked with his left foot in the air. I mean, this is bullcrap.
He jaywalked.
The point I'm trying to make here is what she just said stands out like a sore thumb, as though now you're in anticipation.
Yeah, something's going to happen.
Okay, play it out.
Go.
Steve Bannon was arraigned on March 12, 1996. He pled not guilty to all charges. But his wife at the time claimed in court documents that Steve Bannon and his lawyer threatened repercussions against her and her kids if she showed up to testify against him on those charges. Well, when his court date came up, sure enough, Mr. Bannon's wife did not show up. Prosecutors said they couldn't locate their key witness, and without her there to testify, they said they had no choice but to drop all charges. Now, late tonight, NBC News has obtained further documentation related to the case and specifically to the divorce that happened right after the case went to court and the charges were dropped. This is just in. We're just getting this in, so I'm just going to quote to you directly from NBC's late night reporting tonight. Quote, "We have obtained portions of the large divorce case between Stephen Bannon and his ex-wife. Even though the divorce was initiated in 1997, the couple was still fighting over everything from their daughter's schooling to spousal support in 2007. In one instance, his ex-wife alleged that Steve Bannon objected to his daughters attending a prestigious West LA prep school because of, quote, the number of Jews that attend. The ex-wife went on to say that, quote, he doesn't like Jews, and he doesn't like the way they raise their kids to be whiny brats, and he doesn't want the girls going to school with Jews. This is from court documents reported tonight by NBC News. Steve Bannon is now running Donald Trump's presidential campaign.
Woo! We might as well play it. I mean, come on. We never get a chance to do it. They fuck up their children. Wow, so you're right. Had nothing to do with what was an important fact.
Right. So it was just in a moment of anticipation. It's a cheap trick.
Yes.
She uses it, and then this turns out to be important. No, it doesn't turn out to be important. You never mention it again.
Wow.
And then she does what Hillary said in that last clip, the last part of your clip, quoting some guy. Well, whoever you walk down the path with is who you are them.
Yes.
You are them.
Yes.
Guilt by association. Another cheap trick. Guilt by association. Now she does the punchline. This is the guy that runs Trump's campaign. Guilt by association, walking on the same path. The whole thing wraps up. Hillary, Maddow. It's a setup. It's outrageous. And it's unbelievable.
I think I have more examples for you. I think I have more.
All right.
Okay, so let's just stay with the alt-right thing. And we'll have to deal with what alt-right is eventually, you and I, because I'm not really sure what it is. It seems like a brand of...
Well, it's been defined by the network media people and everybody that we listen to. It's been defined by them. It's been defined by the left.
Right.
Actually, not even the left. It's the neocons.
Yeah.
They've defined it, and that's the only definition we have to work with. We don't know because we haven't looked into it. You're right.
Yeah. And we know some things here and there, and I've received some emails that, it's the true alt-right fringe is really a bunch of scary wankers. And I mean that by wankers. But anyway, so it carried immediately. All those words she said, like nationalism and racist, racial, what did she call rationalists or whatever? All these words. Racialists, yes. They're all coming in. This is Senator Tom Coburn with Chuck Todd, who asked him about this alt-right stuff.
But Donald Trump did hire the head of Breitbart, and Breitbart is a news organization that has been fueling this movement.
That's just like saying if somebody hires you, Chuck.
I like this as Chip.
Did he say Chip or Chet?
I think he said Chip.
It's like saying if somebody...
Hold on.
News organization that has been fueling this movement.
That's just like saying if somebody hires you, Chet.
Chet.
That's his new name for us.
Chet. That's right.
Chet.
It's no longer, it's not Chuck Todd, it's Chet.
Chet.
I like just before he's going to spank him.
Fueling this movement.
That's just like saying if somebody hires you, Chet, Chuck.
I think that's actually a tactic you can apply if you want. If you're going to say something to a prostitute on television, you just do something like that. Mess up their name because that sets them that gets them on the wrong foot, and they say, "Oh shit, man, I'm Chuck. How can you say Chet?" It could be it could be a tactic.
Somebody hires you, Chet, Chuck, and NBC's viewpoint politically is far left anyway. So therefore, it's
let me
bad
stop you there.
because you work for.
Senator, wait a minute. That is not true. I don't know where you're coming up with an ideological.
Well, I actually watch CNBC, NBC, MSNBC. I watch. I see the viewpoints.
Oh, we're not left. What are you talking about? Oh, I take offense to that comment.
They're actually neoliberals. They're really technically not far left.
So MSNBC, this is where the talking points are all abound. Chris Hayes has but Michael Eric Dyson on, who I think is he a talk show guy, but he comes from academia.
I don't know. I never heard of him.
Yeah, well, I actually wrote it down somewhere. I'm pretty sure he has a radio show, but he comes from left-wing politics, if you just want to categorize it. And listen to the words he's using.
There's this question, Michael, also about whether, how much of this is performance for essentially affluent or suburban white voters, particularly white women, that voting for Trump in and of itself is not a racist act because people do not want to commit that.
Right. Well, and it relates to the point that was just made by Brother Zaitchik in regard to it's not a conscious choice of many white brothers and sisters. If you polled them and asked them, they would deny it. But isn't that the lure of whiteness? Whiteness has been rendered invisible. It has been the default position of American identity, so that whiteness and nation are seen to be indissolubly linked. And as a result of that, you don't have to talk about whiteness. All you have to do is talk about making America great again. Black people hear those cold words and they understand what they mean. And yes, to your point, within African American culture, understanding just what's going on here, understanding the play that Donald Trump is making now, and let's be real, many African American people see this as, okay, Kellyanne Conway comes in and says, look, you're leaving on the table a lot of potential black people who might resonate with you. Right. The only problem is they can't resonate with a guy who doesn't understand. Again, if he's not ideological and if he's only nationalist, as has been indicated, again, that doesn't mean he's contradicting the principles of white nationalism. That means he's reinforcing them without being held to account. And Donald Trump, I think, is a mass and massively gifted manipulator. And at the end of the day, there may be no there, but what's there at the end of the day is the status quo. And that status quo has not favored African American people.
All right, let's review for a moment.
Holy crap! This guy, he's got a radio show. I can't imagine anyone can listen to this guy. I didn't know what the hell he said.
Well, a couple of things. First, he said, okay, whiteness is equated to nationalism, and therefore black people understand the code when you say make America great again. You're saying make America white again. That is pretty much what he said, which is
that meme has floated out. They tried floating that a few times.
Right. But then the thing that I like, which I have been hearing incessantly, be on the lookout for, it's another no agenda, going to irritate the crap out of you thing people say is, there's no there there. I'm hearing this all over the place. There's no there there. It is one of the weakest sentences I can imagine in the English language.
Yeah.
There's no there there. Everybody's saying it.
That phrase was first put forward by Gertrude Stein in reference to the city of Oakland.
Okay.
So I think you could turn that around and say this is just anyone who says there's no there is using that to trigger a thought that Oakland, which is mostly black people shooting each other, it's a very racist thing to say. There's no there because you're referring to Oakland blacks.
Tell me exactly the context in which Stein said it.
She used to, I think, live around here. And she said it in the context of just her normal political discussion. This was in the 30s, maybe, the 40s, perhaps, before she became the famous art collector. And she just said, in regards to Oakland, she said, what do we think of Oakland? And she says, there's no there, which is a very apt description of the town.
Meaning that's not really a town, it's just a blob of sadness.
Well, at the time, no, it wasn't. At the time, which it wasn't as bad as it is today. I mean, it was approaching becoming an all-American city, but it had no soul. Perhaps maybe they needed blacks in this town at the time. I don't know. I don't know the context of the comment, but she's the one who first said it, and she became very famous for saying that about Oakland.
Interesting. I've been hearing this on MSNBC. I've been hearing it on CNN. It is.
You should. If I heard, I say, are you referring to Oakland?
Yeah.
You have something against blacks
in Oakland?
In Oakland? Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? Everyone knows what it refers to. It refers to Oakland.
Interesting. Oh, we'll have to keep our eyes on that one because it's coming. It's coming more and more now. Then we have Chris Cuomo on CNN. This to me was there's going to be a little Ask John in here. He has Democratic Representative from New York, Hakeem Jeffries, on. And Hakeem makes a statement, and I want you to, there's an Ask John coming up. Listen up.
Well, race has its place in the election now, to be sure. You have Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton fighting about who is really the bigot. You have Clinton swiping.
Spot the bigot. We need a new jingle. Now, what would we do? Alliteration, something with a B. Something the bigot. We need a jingle.
Bring on the bigot.
Bring on the bigot. No.
Bring on the bigot. Bring bigot.
It's got to be like spot the spook. Spot the spook. Only it's bring on the bigot. No, we'll work on it.
I don't know. Let somebody who does that sort of thing come up with something.
Yes. Fighting about who is really the bigot. You have Clinton swiping at Trump, painting him as a man of a history with discrimination. Trump fighting back with insults, including outright calling Clinton a bigot. Is this helpful on any level? Let's bring in New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. He's the Congressional Black Caucus whip and a Clinton supporter. Congressman, good to see you. Good morning. I know the answer to these questions. Everybody does. Who's rational? This is terrible. It couldn't be more counterproductive. The question is, how can this in any way become something that is helpful to improving the situations in certain big city impoverished communities?
Well, I think Hillary Clinton consistently would like to keep the campaign focused on issues of empowerment for all Americans, including the African-American community and other communities.
There's like 20 seconds. Listen to the whole thing.
All right.
Communities.
Well, I think Hillary Clinton consistently would like to keep the campaign focused on issues of empowerment for all Americans, including the African-American community and other communities of color. But time and time again, what we found is that Donald Trump has sort of outsourced parts of his campaign to white supremacist groups. He did that in the primary in very clear fashion, and he's continued that pattern in the general election.
In fairness.
Okay. So the guy says Trump has outsourced his campaign to white supremacist groups. And you hear Chris Cuomo starting to interrupt. Now, John, does Chris Cuomo say, hold on a second, what evidence do you have of this? Or does he say something else?
He says something else.
It's not even a fun game anymore, is it? So
no.
In fairness,
we can't ignore that.
There's something we hear, Congressman, in this election, I think especially so, which is one side does something that deserves to be criticized. And what they do is they deflect by saying, yeah, but what about this thing we're seeing that right now. Hillary Clinton is beating Donald Trump with a big stick.
So there's your answer. No, he just lets it go. He just lets it go.
Yeah, of course he does.
I think as a news organization, you probably wouldn't just let that go.
They're the worst. Those guys, I don't know what the deal is with CNN. But as I mentioned in the Lerner report, it's borderline embarrassing to listen to the station.
Then
in fact, we have a clip here where they have a couple of CNN. I think these are both CNN. There's another, like I said, RT is irked by the whole thing. I mean, let's play here. This is an interesting one. Play this RT irked Politico tidbit. This is an interesting piece of information I just picked up. I'm gonna have to look it up, but it doesn't surprise me.
RT's Caleb Morpan has more.
Hillary Clinton has a peculiar relationship with the U.S. media. While news media outlets like CNN and MSNBC claim to be unbiased, you can't help but notice that when people start criticizing the Democratic nominee for president, they get a little bit touchy.
You can't just invent
I'm not
things.
inventing
You just
anything.
invented an entire thing.
The entrance, they are letting police through, and the police, if you look over this way.
All right, Miguel, thank you so much. We're going to cut you off. We're going to cut you off right now. We're going to cut you off right now. We're going to cover right now Boys to Men.
It transpired that one of the writers from Politico was actually sending stories not first to his editor, but to the Democratic National Committee, apparently for approval.
Yeah, RT definitely is all over it.
Yeah, and my favorite thing is the Politico guy. I mean, this is what kind of journalist is this? And which I'll look into. And then they had the one cutoff, which was this. I saw that particular episode with that black woman screaming, "You're making it up! You're making it up!" when she's quoting from some report. And then the other one was the guy getting cut off by I forgot who was that host on that one. We got to cut you off. It was blatant. He didn't know how to do it right.
He said,
the way you're supposed to do it is, hey, I think we lost the connection.
Yeah,
we've seen.
I had one of those. I have one of those. I'm not sure exactly where I have one of those. It's beautiful.
We lost the feed. Oh well, we'll get back to him.
Sorry, satellite transmission issues. It's how it goes. Yeah, please.
So RT was on a roll, and I just got two more clips to play from that, so get it out of the way. But let's play this one. This is the one that really irks them, amongst others. This is the Hillary blames Putin clip. It's a classic.
Well, meanwhile, Clinton says she's found a single source doing everything it can to derail her campaign, and it's not an email scandal or suspicious donations to her foundation.
The grand godfather of this global brand of extreme nationalism is Russian President Vladimir Putin. And in fact, Farage regularly appears on Russian propaganda programs. Now he's standing on the same stage as the Republican nominee. Trump himself heaps praise on Putin and embraces pro-Russian policies.
Putin! And it's the,
clip of the day. I had not heard that one.
Oh, I thought you did.
No.
Oh, I will gladly take clip of the
Dynamite.
Yeah, Putin. Now the logic of this is eluding, because it's like, why would Vladimir Putin promote right-wing nationalist movements around the world? He's a communist. So okay, well,
hey, those guys,
a bit of a stretch.
Those guys are rooting for Putin.
And it's just a ludicrous commentary. But here's the one I don't remember what this is about, but it's got something to do with this. This is Hillary game humor.
Meanwhile, a U.S. Army unit has described Hillary Clinton as a potential threat from within. Her picture appeared alongside the photos of whistleblowers Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning in a slide from a training class that was widely circulated online. RT's Caleb Mopan took to the streets of Washington to ask Americans if they agree with the threat assessment.
No, not a man on the street bid. Come on, RT, you're better than that.
Yeah. Insider threat, a disgruntled or careless employee.
Obama. I don't know.
Do you think?
I think Clinton.
And why do you think that?
Because she's a liar. Oh my God. America.
And you're right. So they listed, the guy who shot up the fort.
Caleb, when you talk,
Bradley Manning. Oh, Bradley Manning, Edward Snowden, others. Who do you think that they put there?
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. You think it was Hillary Clinton?
Yeah. Well, she can't be trusted, and everything she says lies. She's Teflon Jane. I mean, everything she does is just falls off her back.
So, do you trust Hillary Clinton?
I love a guy, redneck, is like Teflon Jane. See, the idea, redneck, is that you use a T, something like Teflon Tiffany. I don't know, something like that. That didn't quite work for him. That's pretty funny. Well, did you see Kimmel? No, I'm not sorry. Kimmel Fallon, of course, NBC. Fallon had a very interesting performance on the show, and I don't have the best recording of it, but I do have enough, and we stop whenever you want. It was truly one of the most pathetic things I've seen. From an artist, I generally respect for her work, but Barbra Streisand is known that she hates performing live. This woman does not like performing live. So she's so hyped up. It's now her turn to go out.
She's also known. By the way, she has a place up by where we are in Washington. Every once in a while, Mimi runs into either her or her husband.
I think you've told me. And tell that story.
Well, there's a couple of stories. There's a bunch of stories because she's run into him a number of times. But she ran into the husband, Brolin.
Brolin, yeah.
Who apparently parades around this one store, with his chin in the air, looking around with his sunglasses on and looking very Hollywood-ish. Nobody recognizes him.
In Port Angeles, Washington.
Well, this is actually in Sequim, which is even more pathetic. And
hey, don't you recognize me, shopkeeper?
So at some point she bumped into him or something, or she said something, he says something, and he says to her.
To Mimi.
Yes. And Mimi doesn't embellish these kinds of celebrity stories because she knows plenty of them.
Yeah.
And he says, do you know who I am?
A classic.
And she says, she looked right straight in the face and she said to him, do you know who I am? and then that kind of shorted him out like, Kirk and the robot. And he kind of just shook a little bit and wandered off.
What? Hold on. It's like, confuse the celebrity. That's right, everybody.
So she's best known as being an outrageous Democrat.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Who threatened. She said, if George Bush gets reelected, I'm leaving the country. Actually, she said when Bush got elected, if George Bush gets elected, I'm leaving the country.
Yeah.
If George Bush gets reelected, I'm leaving the country. Well, I guess if you live in Sequim, that's kind of...
it's kind of leaving the country.
Close enough.
So she does not like performing live. And I don't know, man. I don't know how much Fallon has to do with his own show. I think Kimmel does a lot more on his show than Fallon.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because Fallon, there's no way you would approve this. It was pathetic. So he does a song with her. He's dressed up like Trump. And, first of all, it's a callback to a song from the 40s. Very, very, very sad to me for someone who I really like for what she does. I've liked her music. I'm a pussy that way, except for that. That whole Yentl thing, that didn't work for me. But everything else, with Barry Gibb, come on, nothing to be guilty of.
I sing all the best words. When you hear me sing, you're going to be blown away.
Oh, you mean like your hair in a windstorm?
All of this, we're making hair jokes throughout the whole thing because that's really funny.
Touche.
You ready? Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, sad.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Any wall you can build, I can build taller.
I'm not building
I can build any wall taller than you.
No. Yeah, maybe Martin Short wrote this bit for them. This is old and tired.
I don't know where they got this idea.
And it's all hair jokes to the very end. It's anything
hair shaming.
You can't.
Great.
Want to hear a little more?
Yeah.
No, you can't.
She seems like she doesn't have her voice.
No. Oh, no. Well, the first line was okay, but then I agree with you. She didn't have her voice.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can, and I'm going to get Mexico to pay for it.
Don't count on it, okay? I can belt a D flat and I'll never be flat.
I can build casinos and deport Latinos.
I can vote for Hillary.
She's going to lose.
No, she's going to win, and she's going to win huge.
Hey, you stole my line. That is really, really low.
Are you talking about me or your latest poll numbers? Anything you can say, I can say softer.
No, I can say anything softer than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Hilarious.
You're right. I can't.
May I help you?
Be careful. Oh, be careful. He only listens to me. Get down, boy. All right, hold on a second.
That's his hair that's growling, apparently.
That's good. Okay.
Well, you really are a prima donna.
No, you're a prima Donald.
Well, that's pretty good. You want to be my new campaign manager?
No way, Jose.
Jose, where is he? Get him out of here, please. I'm going to tweet this. I'll be right back.
Oh, what am I doing?
There you go. Sad to me.
Yeah, well, it was lame.
I mean, what is the audience of that show? Are they really that old?
Nobody heard the song before, I'm sure.
True. That's true.
Sounds familiar.
Oh, just kind of wrapping up the political part here.
Well, before you, I did one more clip.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I got a clip too. Go ahead. What you got?
This is again from RT. This is their bashing. They're in the mood. They brought this guy, Dr. Doom, on. This Sofian company. I rarely watched the show. Uh-huh. And Dr. Doom, whose name just kind of eludes me, but he's a very famous, I think, Austrian.
Oh, wait, I think I've played a clip from that guy at one point, haven't I?
Yeah, he's a character.
Yeah.
And he's a stock market predictor, and he's living in Thailand.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
But he's not the same guy. I think you're thinking of somebody else. But this guy, he's actually named Dr. Doom, and he's got some other name. But Sophie asked him about the Clinton thing, and this guy, I thought this was very funny.
Now what Ms. Clinton is saying, she said that if she's elected, she will put her husband, former President Bill Clinton, in charge of the U.S. economy to revitalize the U.S. economy. Now, he oversaw a period of economic growth in the U.S. in the 90s. Can he be entrusted with the American economy once again?
He will revitalize corruption in America. The Clinton family is involved in so many scandals. That is what is going to happen. There will be massive and increased crony capitalism. The U.S. always accuses other countries of corruption, of crony capitalism. But in America, it's even more extreme.
Yeah, it's yes.
It's funnier than you played.
Oh, much better. I came across in some of these new emails that have come out as I continue to kind of scour them, and there was a big meeting with Victor Pinchuk, and it was one of these meetings that she declined, and then it came through the foundation, and then she took the meeting, and Victor Pinchuk. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, he's a Ukrainian businessman and philanthropist, and he's like a $1.5 to $2 billion type guy. And this is all before Maidan happened, and that by itself, that the Clintons were involved somehow, with and he also has let me see, I think he has something to do with, or he has an Interpipe Group. There you go. So he has international investing, project funding, financial advisory company, and then Interpipe, which is one of the leading pipe, wheel, and steel producers. And what I found interesting is not so much that she took that meeting, but the deal that had been done with his wife, with Victor Pinchuk's wife, and her name is Elena Pinchuk. And she started, and this is all before the Maidan and everything in Ukraine happened. She started the Elena Pinchuk Anti-AIDS Foundation. And we know that all of the Clinton Foundation's money, including the HIV/AIDS Foundation, which was not even a legal foundation at its founding and at its funding. And so they announced then after that a $2.5 million commitment from the Clinton HIV/AIDS initiative with her anti-AIDS foundation, which is purely to raise awareness. So that's a payoff of some form.
For something.
It's a fucking payoff. These people are so brazen.
No, the whole thing is payoffs. It's payoffs and bribes. And
but I have to.
It just stuns me that people nobody wants to see it that way. I mean, the media.
No, but
is the media really blind to this, or are they just pretending?
I think I can answer that question.
Good.
Yeah, I can try. Slate has a podcast, which is generally annoying to listen to, generally. But they had a guest on today, Adam Davidson, I believe. He is the guy who either started or co-founded Planet Money on NPR, the Planet Money guy. And they're talking, and believe me, you don't need to listen to it. It's in the show notes at 855.noagendanotes.com. You don't need to listen to unless you want to be irritated. But then at a certain point, the Planet Money guy goes into his experience with the Clinton Global Initiative. And I think, so this is a mainstream media guy. And let's hear what he had to say when his guard was perhaps let down a little bit because it's a podcast.
I've spent a decent amount of time at the Clinton Global Initiative. I sort of fell into this thing, which what I'm about to say means I'm probably going to fall out of this thing. But
by the way, that caught my attention when he said that. It's like, oh, really? Someone's going to say something interesting.
What I'm about to say means I'm probably going to fall out of this thing. But because I've spent a lot of time reporting in Haiti, they often ask me to moderate their big Haiti panel every year. And to be clear, I don't make any money or anything like that, but I do go and moderate a panel at the Clinton Global Initiative and go to a few other sessions, and I've done some other things there. And there is a real creepy vibe to me personally at the Clinton Global Initiative. It seems to me that it is all about buying access. It's incredibly expensive just to go to the thing. It's hundreds of thousands or $100-something thousand to go, and you meet all these people who are sort of selling their little private equity energy startup or whatever. And there's sort of these explicit ways in which you get access. You pay more money to get more access to political leaders and to really rich people. There's this, and to big corporate leaders. There's this kind of creepy theater that happens where you have the CEO of Coca-Cola or IBM or whatever, or GE up there with President Clinton, and they're just bathing each other in love over how generous and wonderful they are and how much they care about the world. And all these like earnest people applauding and thrilled. And then, every hour or so they parade, Angelina Jolie is hustled through a room and she doesn't stop or talk to anyone. She's not like hanging out, but you get to say that you were with Angelina Jolie that morning. It just feels like the worst version of an elite selling access to the aspirational, to creating this theater of doing good, but it's all about something else. It really feels gross. I remember one year the opening night party was at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they literally, there was the second floor that was blocked off by Secret Service where Bill Clinton is standing, where you can see him with all the truly elite, and then the rest of us are staring up at them because we didn't pay enough money to get up there.
Literally
really
holding
gross.
it above your head.
Yeah.
Given that, Adam, should they do what they said they're going to do after the election right now, which is cut off foreign donors now?
They and my experience, by the way, just to reiterate, because I would be involved in kind of planning these panels, is the Clinton Global Initiative, which is separate from the Clinton Foundation, related, but a separate staff, a separate office, at least it used to be. They would really want a good event, with controversy, and actually, the reason they came to me is because I, have produced radio shows, and they wanted to create a good hour of conversation where people disagree. And then the Clinton Foundation typically would come in and say, no, you need to do it this way, where it's just a bunch of people congratulating each other on how awesome they are. And here's a head of state of a foreign government who needs to be on that panel, even though they have literally nothing to say, but we promised him a slot. Yes, it's disgusting. If you are planning for 12 years to run for president, or 16 years, whatever it is, don't set up a foundation where you're beholden to scumbags from other countries. Like, yeah, that's ridiculous. And if you're Secretary of State, tell your husband not to do business with them. And there's this like second tier meme, which some people have been like, the Clinton Foundation does so much good around the world. I feel fairly confident it is not in the top tier. I mean, if you talk to development professionals, it is not in the top tier. I have seen their work in Haiti up close in person. There's some very good people who work there, but Haiti is one of their singular focuses. It's a very small country. They have not had a major impact on Haiti. It's more the performance of very public charity, not the actual intervention
but it's not
in
good.
Deep and meaningful ways.
There you go. Mainstream really lets it out.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's clip of the day.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Clip of the day.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I've spoken to my former New York.
By the way, stop. I'm going to give you a little kudos for this. I think you're dead right. The guy was thinking, I'm on a podcast. I can be free to talk freely.
Oh, yeah. Big mistake. I would avoid hot tubs, canoes, and small aviation aircraft. Yeah, that's not a good idea. It blew me. And long go podcasting. People letting their guard down. That's fantastic. You should have heard them doing the Harry's Razor commercial together. That was actually pretty funny. Some stooges.
Yeah, that's a shame.
So there you go. This is the guy who's involved personally. I've heard the same thing from my former New York banker friend, who, he ran a sovereign wealth fund, or he ran the banking business for sovereign wealth funds. That was his main sales opportunity. Oh, yeah, we'd be there. Yeah, spend $250,000 for the access so he could stand up wherever other people were looking up at him. He was up there with the elites. Obviously, his bank would pay for that, obviously.
I like the symbolism.
Of course. And I love, they trot Angelina Jolie out for a moment. Let me tell you. But I was just thinking about this earlier because I saw some pictures of some stuff.
By the way, can you put that clip aside? I want to bring it back into the conversation sometime in the future.
Of course. I was thinking of this in relation to a minor scandal that's surrounding Leonardo DiCaprio. He has, which actually, funny enough, I got the story from my New York banker friend who sent me this story, and he said, we should get a DAF of our own. I'm like, what's a DAF? So I read the story. Leonardo DiCaprio has a foundation, and it was the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, but then it kind of turned into not a nonprofit, but what is known as a donor advised fund, which is great. And then the donors help you advise you on the fund, and then they give some money to some community charity. But if you look at the fundraiser, which coincidentally, this whole story broke that, there was bad Malaysian money, there's money laundering going through this thing, there's all kinds of crazy stuff. And he's backed out of fundraisers for Hillary because, he's toxic right now. But I look at the pictures. Funny enough, the week after I was in the south of France, he had a fundraiser for his donor advised fund. Man, this is a beautiful vehicle. We got to get one of these, John. And there's all these supermodels, and including Douwe Cruz, whatever, the Dutch girl, famous model. And there are all these models hanging out, and I need to remind people that many of these agencies, I'll just say Wilhelmina Agency and some of these other ones, they really are pimps. And they take these, they get paid to bring these women to these types of parties with all these elite douchebags, and they ham it up and they take pictures, and I'm sure more may be going on. It's really quite disgusting, and I'm pretty sure this happens at the Clinton Foundation, the CGI in New York. Just all of it so icky.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. I have one.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, I know.
I'm shocked that whoring is going on.
Well, it's sad. It's sad. Here's Trey Gowdy. He's still mad. Trey Gowdy, of course, is the lawyer Republican who's been kind of lead along with Chaffetz in
he's also blew the Benghazi hearings.
Yes. Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yes.
My takeaway was this. Remember, James Comey said she was not indicted because he didn't have sufficient evidence on the issue of intent. I didn't see any questions on the issue of intent. There's no question she handled them negligently or extremely carelessly. He said he didn't go forward with charges because she didn't have specific criminal intent. I didn't see any questions on that.
All right,
she said she did it for convenience, but I didn't see the follow-up questions in the interview I read.
All right, so as an attorney, what kind of questions would you have asked? You say there were no questions that went to the issue of whether or not she had intent. What would you have asked?
Well, there are two ways to do it. One is circumstantial evidence. The other is direct evidence. The direct evidence would be, Madam Secretary, why did you set up this email server this way? Why did you not take a state.gov email address? And her response was, and it always has been, convenience. And then that's when you press and say, well, what could be more convenient than just doing a state.gov email address? The labyrinthine effort that you made to create this separate server, that's what's inconvenient. I would then ask, why did you delete emails?
Well, yeah, that's a great point. Because I had not heard of that. You know, of course, this is a PR talking point where you say, well, it was out of convenience. Everybody's like, yeah, I got my personal emails instead of my work mails. I had pain in the ass. But it's not the same as setting up a Gmail when you set up your own server.
You have to deal with an IT guy.
Several IT
issues.
Guys. Yes.
Yeah, that's not convenient.
No, I think he makes a very valid point here.
Effort that you made to create this separate server, that's what's inconvenient. I would then ask, why did you delete emails that you kept for a year and a half? Keep in mind, these personal emails, she didn't bother to delete them for a year and a half. It was the fall of 2014, a year and a half after she left the State Department, that she decided to start deleting emails. Why didn't you delete them the month you left? Why didn't you delete them 6 months after you left? And the other question they should have asked her is, Madam Secretary, why didn't you turn your emails over the day you left service?
We got to leave
Why
it there.
did you hold on to them for almost 2 years?
Get him off. You're out of time. Congressman, thank you. We will be right back.
Yes, ma'am.
Get him off. Stop. We're out of time. I'm sorry. We're out of time. We're out of time. You got to go.
It's on a roll.
You're out of time. The only other clip I have, which came kind of as no surprise, and I don't think it got a lot of media attention at all. We're always wondering what people do with their campaign funds they've raised, you know, after they lose. Now, there's many, of course, who have no more money left and have debts, and that's a bad day. I have to presume that the Bernie Sanders movement, that maybe there was some money left. What do you think?
I would assume.
Mm-hmm. Well,
he raised a lot of money.
Yeah, well, I think he's figured out what to do with it.
So tonight, I want to introduce you to a new independent nonprofit organization called Our Revolution, which is inspired by the historic Bernie 2016.
Inspired. It's funded, you mean. It's funded by.
Which is inspired by the historic.
That's a great choice of words. It's inspired. No.
Is inspired by the historic Bernie 2016 presidential campaign. Over time, Our Revolution will involve hundreds of thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
These are people who will be fighting at the grassroots level for changes in their local school boards, in their city councils, in their state legislatures, and in their representation in Washington.
And what's interesting about this nonprofit is that it's a 501(c) nonprofit, which means it's a lobbying organization. Your donations are not tax deductible. That's where the money went. And if you look at ourrevolution.com, which is another, just a little minor hint that it's not all do-gooder stuff, because it's .com and not .org, you'll see...
that's minor.
Yeah. Well, you'll see that they have a whole page called Our Candidates. And it's all these candidates in let's see, well, every state. Every state, they've got a candidate. So it's a lobbying organization. And legally, it's a lobbying organization.
Well, you got to do something with the money.
I know, but
There's no way you can just give it back to people. You could. I mean, you'd have to really track it, though, and nobody does that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Clintons do the best job of it. They just have this fund, this slush fund. It's the way to go. Well, I got a kind of a throw. Well, actually, I'll get to my clip later. I think we're running.
Well, in that case, let me thank you very much for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for Cooter Dvorak.
Cooter?
Yeah, I like the word. I heard it the other day. I thought I'd use it for you.
Was it cooter with a D or a T?
With a T.
Ah. Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all ships say I was with cooter with the T. Well, in the morning to you, Adam Curry. Also in the morning, all the ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water. Yeah! And all the days and nights out there.
That's right. In the morning, chat room. Chat room's got it figured out. Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. NoAgendaStream.com. Good to have you guys here. In the morning to Jay Moon. Jay Moon is an artist who uploaded his work to NoAgendaArtGenerator.com, and he brought us the artwork for episode 854. That was pre-medicated, and that was the nun on the beach, hot nun on the beach with her surfboard. Of course, that would be a callback to the Burkini controversy. And we look forward to all the submissions at NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Thank you very much, Jay Moon.
All right, well, we got a few donors, executive producers, associate executive producers, and people in between. Mm-hmm. So let's start off with Joseph Castine in McDonough, Georgia. Now, Georgia accent's slightly different. That's not it.
No, that's not it at all.
No, the Georgia accent's the one that's the most genteel. It's the best.
I do declare we've got Joseph Castine coming in with a donation.
$500. Longtime boner, he says. Since episode 1, Woo! He has never contributed.
I wonder what made him change his mind about the value.
I don't know, but he wants to get a de-douching.
Uh-huh. Well, I'll do that now.
You've been de-douched.
All right, he's de-douched.
And he wants to give everybody a karma.
Oh. Jobs karma.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And he's got it.
Moreno Valley, California comes $360 from an anonymous donor, who also seems to be circumference for the night of the roundtable of the best produced podcast in the universe. All right, he's been donating since 2014. Thanks for all you do. This donation brings me to knighthood. Oh, he'd like to be known as Circumference.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Which is a good name.
Yes, it's not on the list, though.
Really?
No.
Well, it will be now.
Okay.
Night of the round table. Yeah, they're just Circumference.
Okay. So anonymous becomes Circumference.
Yeah, so forget the anonymous part. Sir Dwayne Melanson, our Archduke of the Pacific Northwest in Tigard, Oregon, 34567. He becomes our third executive producer after a shortfall last show. Thanks for the Los Angeles flood, Louisiana flood coverage. I grew up in Baton Rouge, and my mom got flooded out of her home near Lafayette. Total demo required.
Oh, man.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it sucks.
That's especially since it's not a flood zone.
No.
Karma to all the flooded ones and all nights.
You've got karma.
Special karma from me too, man. Definitely.
Jared Meisner in Bellevue, Washington, becomes our fourth executive producer and last for show 345?
355. 855. What are you talking about? 855.
Oh, you got confused.
Well, you confused me.
In the morning, Crackpot and Buzzkill, I wanted to thank you guys for the excellent detailed media deconstruction that you continue to do so well. It's not just the media coverage that keeps me listening, though. You guys have me literally laughing out loud every show, too. I'd like it if you guys would throw out a global douchebag call out from me to anyone who has listened to more than 2 or 3 shows and has not donated yet.
Douchebag. You got it.
This is the best media coverage out there, people. And it's totally worth, at the very least, a small monthly donation. As an executive producer for the show, I was hoping you guys could also give a quick congratulations call out to my best friend, Chuck Kendrick of the White Rock, BC, Canada. He's the one who turned me on to shows originally, and we believe he's pretty far on his way to knighthood as well. He recently received some really good news, and I was hoping you guys could throw together a montage of Trump-Hillary jobs.
That's Trump Pelosi jobs. We don't have it with Hillary.
Yes, it's Trump Pelosi. He's confused. He just put Hillary there because it was on his mind because the mainstream media keeps pumping her name.
Yeah.
Followed by Obama's. We can't constantly demonize each other. I don't know if that's available as
I think so. I'll look for it. Yep. And
finishing up with the "Shut Up Slave" clip as a congratulations to him from you guys, and of course from me as well. If you want to finish up with it, some karma, that would be great too.
All right, Jared. We'll do that right now.
Jobs. 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 And jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
That democracy doesn't work if we constantly demonize each other.
Shut up, slave. You've got karma.
Well, go figure.
It worked.
Nailed it.
Jason Miller Tim Anonymous came in with 23456, and all he does is he sends a check. He puts a big Post-it note right on the check, says his name, Tim Anonymous, and you can't make a mistake. That's the way. If you really, really, really don't want to get mentioned, this is the way.
Yes, that's how you do it. Does he want some karma?
He didn't say anything. It just was his load check.
I'm giving it to him.
You've got karma.
He might be a grumpy old guy going, here's a check. But it's an envelope, slaps it down there. The funny thing is about the envelopes of checks, individual checks come in, and you can, if there's a big whopper in a big check, it doesn't, this is a big check, but I'm talking
like
about
one of those, like from Publishers Clearinghouse, big check, like a big cardboard
check, like $1,000 check, an Instant-Night check. Yeah. It's always Scotch taped.
Oh, you mean like it's been opened and sealed again by the...
No, it was when the guy put it together, he got paranoid because it was a big check, and so he Scotch taped it.
No, yeah.
So when I go through the now this of course won't work anymore because the jokers out there that listen to the show are going to just Scotch tape everything and then have nothing inside.
Yeah, like here's your 1 penny check, Dvorak.
With the Scotch tape in the back. But that'll end and it'll go back to normal. Jason Miller, meanwhile, came in with $213.75 from Millersburg, the town named after him in Ohio. Jason Miller's town is Millersburg.
Really?
Oh, that's the way I.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I thought that was in the note. I'm like, oh, cool. He's got a town. Nice.
That's the way I'm going.
It's 855 quarters is what he did here. This is nice. I didn't realize that's a very good donation amount.
Yes. In the morning, please accept this donation amount of $213.75, 855 quarters. That's a good idea. Now it's like a show club.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm going to put him in the club.
Are we at this point? Now we made a decision.
Well,
that quarters. I think it's not a bad idea.
I think it's a pretty good idea. Do the quarters. The quarters club. That also sounds good. Hold on. Man.
Okay, it's in the quarters club. This is how the show works.
Yeah. Meeting adjourned.
Please accept to help fund your ongoing efforts to bring sanity to us all. I'm a Mennonite firefighter from the heart of Amish country, Ohio.
Right on.
Which I'm guessing puts me in a pretty small group of listeners. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
With those
how about a meetup over there?
Hey. I've been a short time listener around episode 760, the first time donor. So I'm requesting a de-douching.
Yeah.
De-douching.
Right here. De-douching for you, Mr. Miller.
You've been
no particular
de-douched.
jingle request. But if possible, I'd like to request some value for value karma for the small nonprofit I helped start several years ago, which provides technology and software to fire departments and other first responders.
Oh, yeah. He sent me a rather long, and it's open source. It's a very beautiful project, actually, what he's doing.
We recently implemented a new software service using the value for value model, which costs us about $30,000 to make. And so far, have received only $2,700. So we're in desperate need of karma.
Yeah.
Adam, your entire production is fantastic. Thanks to both of you for all your hard work and make the show possible. There's hoping that we'll get to listen to 855 more episodes of the best podcast in the universe, Jason Miller in Millersburg.
Yeah, it's a cool project he's got going. I'll see if he has a URL, but they can tie in assets and information about because there's a lot of volunteer fire departments still. And so they can figure out, they all connect to the central system. I should read the email again, and then I'll be able to explain it better. But it hit me just reading, like, oh, that's really cool. A value for value open source software project. I like that a lot. So here is your karma, sir. Thank you very much, Jason Miller.
You've got karma.
But this is an anonymous, although for some reason it's not marked as such on the spreadsheet, just so you know.
Been too long since my last donation?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, and it puts it at the end.
Wrong.
Wrong. Good catch. In Dublin, Ohio, Mr. Anonymous, who puts the request at the end, which is not the way to do it. You put it right at the beginning in caps.
Yeah, all caps. Yeah.
Been too long since my last donate because I looked at it, I didn't see it. Keep up the great work in entertainment. Give him a karma, and he'll
of course.
Good for that.
Of course.
And that concludes.
Hold on, don't karma interrupt us. Easy now.
Then concludes our listing of the executive and associate executive producers for show 855.
Yes, sir. I do have one mention. Let's see. Oops, I forgot to put his name in my notes here. Well, it's a test anyway, so when it goes full blown, we'll promote him for doing this. We try to distribute this program through as many ways as possible. We use BitTorrent Sync. Now we were using BitLove because they had some, and I think, this is probably, it was a great idea, but nothing really came of it, of the BitLove service, and it goes up and down. But what they do is they take your existing RSS feed and they create a torrent out of your MP3, and then you have a separate RSS feed that is just for torrents, which is used quite a bit on our show. But that feed, is not working properly. So our producer set up, with a domain name, an RSS feed at noagendatorrents.com. How about that?
That's dynamite.
It's very dynamite. Right now, he only has 2 in there, so it's 853, 854, and of course, hopefully today, 855 will update. The request is if everyone can please review it, take a look, see if it works, if we need anything else, and we'll feed that back on the show. And it's great. So we have yet another distribution mechanism of the best podcast in the universe, in the galaxy.
And I'd like to mention to people, since we did get a response with additional donations, because we actually have our own. We do not use Podbean.
That's your go-to name, Podbean.
Podbean and JokerNet and some of these other crazy ways that
JokerNet.
You pay them a bunch of money, and then you eventually run out of bandwidth. And of course, these operations are all pretty much the same. You run out of the bandwidth, and instead of them fronting you, saying, "Oh, we'll let it slide." No.
You're done.
You get a message. This guy's out of bandwidth. He didn't pay enough money. And so you don't get to download anything. Right. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me the way these things operate.
And there's no
personalization. You look at Podbean, by the way, they have 1 million podcasts that you can find on there. And it's like, okay, that's great. I mean, I don't know. No, we have our own. We have developed with great expertise. Luckily, we do have some of the smartest guys in the world.
Void Zero, Mountain Vortex, yes.
Yeah, those guys are outrageous. And so they can, and we're working with some other people that maybe we can pick up some of their extra bandwidth because we know how to do that.
Yeah.
And we know how to make these sort of connections and make it work.
But
it's a complicated system. It's not something, and I have nothing to do with this. This is Adam's side of the business, which is why the two of us work so well together, because we have complementary skills.
Yeah.
And we just do what we have to do to make sure that this thing stays on the air in any way it can, because there's moments. If you're, for example, with one of these podcast distributing companies and somebody says, hey, we just cut these guys off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
you'd be done.
Yeah.
It'd take us weeks to get back on track, and we'd lose listeners.
You'd be out. But, really, the thing that's interesting about podcasting, which was not really anticipated, and it was really created for a different reason, because these days everything is so fast, you can pretty much, click and play. But when you use a podcast app, which of course people use the podcast app, there's many other good ones for iOS and Android. But all I will say, you look at the numbers, it's iPhones have the biggest, make the biggest use of the RSS feed. You have to imagine that we don't really know how many people download the show or listen to the show. It could be 4,000, 40,000, 400,000. But when I release the show, okay, just imagine we have a hose, and this hose can fit, X amount of water through it. But then let's just say these 4,000, 40,000, or 400,000 all at the same time go, oh, there's a new show. I'm going to download it now. And you have no control on our end over when the download starts. So pretty much these things are always looking for a new episode. Boom, there's a new episode. And so just imagine the city of Los Angeles trying to drink through a garden hose. Now, these guys have figured out how to make that pretty seamless, and it does work with bursting and I don't know how, but it's all our stuff.
Yeah, it's all our stuff.
And I think we do it very well.
I think we do it as well as anyone. I think we do it as well as you can do it.
Yeah. For a couple of dudes.
Yeah.
Or just a couple of dudes with some microphones.
We rely on our own infrastructure completely.
Yeah, we do.
And we're not using Podbean.
Thank you all very much, our executive producers. These, of course, are real credits. They can be used anywhere credits are accepted, and make use of them. And and when people are always tweeting out pictures of their night rings and stuff, if you have a cool place for your producer credit, we'd like to see that as well. And we'll be thanking our other list of donors later on in our $50 or above segment. And of course, we will have another show coming up on Thursday. Remember us at
Dvorak.org/NA.
That's right. We need to be remembered when you are propagating the formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Hey, citizen.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave. Yowza. Yowza.
I have a little throwback clip.
Kiddo.
So I was watching C-SPAN, and they had Jeffrey Toobin on. Jeffrey Toobin is a writer, Democrat.
Yeah.
And he just did a book on, he's out pushing his book on Patty Hearst, the old Patty Hearst story, which I don't know.
Really? Why is he doing that?
I have no idea.
That's odd.
Whatever I don't know if it's going to be a big seller, but he's got some new stories. I don't know. But they went on because out of the blue, he says, I think Al Gore won the election in 2000 and things would be a little bit. It's for some reason he used it as a backup for something he was discussing. And I don't know what happened. I think somebody put a bug in the interviewer's ear or something, said, hey, play this clip. So let's see what Toobin thinks. So this is the recount story that to be honest about it, I thought I knew most of this stuff, but I don't remember this. I think it was kept away. I think the information was kept away from the public because I think the meme that Al Gore really won the election so he can come out and promote his global warming thing and walk on the stage and say, hi, I'm the president that
wasn't
gypped. Yeah, whatever he says.
Gypped.
He got gypped. This is the clip. This is the recount story 1.
Remind us what the Miami Herald concluded about the Florida election.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you what we did. First of all, is after the U.S. Supreme Court decided that there would be no full-scale recount of the vote in Florida, we decided that we should determine, for history's sake, what were the real results. And so we did our own recount. We went to every one of the 67 counties in Florida and obtained all the ballots. And we were able to do that under the really expansive public records law of Florida, which is really wonderful. And so we obtained all the ballots. We went with an accounting firm, BDO Seidman at the time, and they did their count, and we did our count as journalists. And we went through every single ballot. And we had the supervisor of elections actually hold up the ballot, and we recorded how that ballot was voted.
Yeah, that was the hanging chads. We all saw that, right? The hanging chads.
And whether that ballot
taken into account as a vote.
Yeah, we're taking into account. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Ballot was voted, and whether that ballot could in fact be counted, because in some instances the ballots were marked in a way that couldn't possibly be counted. And there were, as you may recall, there were different standards. So the question is, how do you judge the so-called hanging chad? So if you had ballots that were punctured in some way, if the little piece of paper was sort of hanging on, did you count that or did you not count that? And so we looked at the vote under various standards, and we determined that George Bush actually won that election in Florida.
Really?
Yeah. You never heard this story either, have you?
No, not at all.
This is Marty Barron. They had the editor-in-chief of the Miami Herald. The Miami Herald's a reasonably very well-respected newspaper. And they brought in an accounting firm, and they spent, I don't know how long, but they went through every single ballot and determined Bush won. Nobody plays this story because it's not the narrative they want you to hear.
But you have to have Gore was robbed. Yes, he was robbed.
So now Toobin's sitting there being interviewed by a different guy. This is an old clip. And Toobin has to jump in with his little, And then when you listen to the players with his, they somebody else did this, and they found that Gore won. And so play this part here, and then just take one more look at the what he has to say.
If I can just add one more point. Certainly. The Miami Herald did their own recount. Later, the National Opinion Research Center at the University of Chicago did a different, even more comprehensive recount, sponsored by a consortium of news media organizations, including the New York Times and the Washington Post, that reached...
Was that not true?
No. They did, but this whole thing was rigged. It was a Chicago operation. The National Research Council, whatever it is, out of the University of Chicago, is run by a Democrat, always has been. The New York Times, a Democrat front. The Washington Post, outrageous promoters of the Democrat. This is bull crap.
Sponsored by a consortium of news media organizations, including the New York Times and the Washington Post, that reached a somewhat different conclusion, that said, if the whole state had been recounted, Gore would have won. Now, if only the 4 counties Gore sought to have recounted, Bush would have won.
And that was a tactical mistake by Al Gore.
It was certainly a tactical mistake to call for only a four counties of recount. But I think the broader issue is this. What we know for sure is that the Supreme Court's decision in Bush v. Gore ended the recounts.
Now, this is nonsense. I mean, okay, the New York Times and the Washington Post, which are all in for Gore, and I think both papers recommended him, they came up with this scheme to debunk a very thorough recount of the whole entire state of Florida, even though Tubin kind of makes it sound like they only did these 4 counties, which isn't true. The entire state of Florida came up with the answer that Bush won. And that was that. And they were probably as good as you couldn't probably do any better than they did. And they said they took a bunch of standards into account and still came up with Bush. The big papers, they didn't like that meme and they killed it. They killed the meme and made the meme Gore won. And that's what everybody still kind of uses as a standard. Oh, Gore probably won. Gore won Florida. The Supreme Court butted in.
Well, no, it goes like this. Jeb Bush was the governor of the state and rigged it all so his brother could win.
Yeah, well, if you want to take it to the extreme.
That is the meme. Come on, that's the meme. That's how I hear it all the time.
So this is a meme that is floating around, and I just thought this story was interesting. I was, I didn't
hear that either. I did not know that. Actually, I had written something down for us to talk about. Oh, boy, show prep. This is another meme/theory that is going around, and a lot of them now it's starting to creep a little bit more into the mainstream. And after the hiring of the Bannon guy from Breitbart, and of course Roger Ailes being fired from Fox and friendly with Trump, and I hear this from people who are very serious about it. The word is, no. This Trump is not really trying to win. He is just getting set up to start his new media empire. He's going to be Trump TV, and it's going to be outfoxing Fox, and that's really what this is all about.
Yeah, I've heard this.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
I want you. I'm going to ask. This happened. I see this every so often. This was the same situation when George Bush was president. They kept flip-flopping on, is George Bush is an evil genius or George Bush is a dumb screw-up?
Dummy.
He's either a big dummy or an evil genius. Now, let's say the same thing about, is Trump, Trump's a big, dumb racist. Or is he a genius?
A genius media guy.
Make up your minds.
Yeah. That is good.
He's going to start a media company. This was his plan all along.
That's what his plan was. That's what he was going to do.
All along. Yeah. Wow. This guy's a
genius.
Unbelievable thinker.
3 shows ago, on I think the 18th or 19th, we played a clip by a man who initially I was going to offer a spot on our stream with his undoubtedly podcast career, which is about to follow, and that is Dr. Drew. We play, and I want to play that clip again because the clip of him commenting on Hillary Clinton's health report has been removed from HLN, as has his show. Oh, yeah. The transcript is still there.
I know the show is removed, but...
Yeah, no, the video has been removed. The transcript is still out there.
This is CNN's operation again,
Yes,
and I just don't...
CNN.
I think I mentioned this in the Leaner report. Oh, no, I didn't. I'm going.
Don't think
What
you
is
did.
the deal with these guys?
So here, I have some official, let me see. This is this is Deadline Hollywood, which is really kind of the dirt rag, but they have most of their facts straight. Days after CNN's Ashley Banningfield announced on air she's moving to HLN in the fall, HLN quietly confirmed Dr. Drew Pinsky's program will end next month, though he will remain a contributor for CNN worldwide, which is kind of like BBC worldwide. It's like it's shortwave radio territory.
Never see it.
No one cares about CNN worldwide. Now, when we heard him comment on Hillary Clinton's health report, we said, like, wow, man, stay away from canoes and hot tubs and small aviation. This is not a very good stance for you to take. And he did it, and I think it was, although flawed for numerous pharmaceutical reasons that our audience responded to rather strongly. Yeah, because the guy's a doctor, and he's a shill for brands and doesn't want to recommend generics. But here's the disappointing thing. So after he did this and apparently got fired for it, there's just no other, I can't see it any other way. Like HLN really has ratings. What's the difference between 0.2 and 0.25? It's not going to make any difference in your sales. But he released this statement. Earlier tonight, I mistakenly raised an anonymously sourced report about Hillary Clinton's health. By doing so, I violated HLN and CNN's editorial standards, and I was wrong to have mentioned the unsubstantiated report. I regret.
Hold on a second.
Wait, let me finish. I regret the error, and I will make sure in the future to apply the rigorous editorial standards we have in place here. I apologize to our viewers and Secretary Clinton for falling short tonight. This was not an anonymously sourced report.
No, he looked at her medical records and then made some commentary. Right?
Well, what did we miss? Was this medical report? I thought it was part of. Where did it show up?
She had it was the one thing that it was the medical record that was released. There was a released medical record by this one guy who was a long-term doctor, and according to him, he looked at it. And then he said, well, this is interesting, and this is interesting, and she shouldn't be taking that, and she shouldn't be taking this. And then I think the anonymous thing may have been from the glasses, those brain-damaged glasses that she was wearing for a while with the Fresnel lens in it. Maybe that was what he's referring to here in this little note.
Let me see.
I'm baffled by this.
So am I. This is the report that was released by her own doctor. I'm looking at it right now. This letter summarizes the health history and current medical evaluation of Hillary Rodham Clinton. This is the Mount Kisco, New York lady. In fact, Dr. Drew refers to that. Then he mentions found to have transverse sinus venomous thrombosis. This is the note. Let me just see what the Talking Points memo says. Clinton releases medical records. So this was a release by Hillary Clinton herself, as far as I understand it.
Yes.
So I don't understand how he can make this statement.
This is a very interesting 1984 style lie.
You know why, though? Here it is. If you look at, there was another set of so-called medical records that came out that, were got by some guy's dad who took a picture, and Snopes, of course, says it's false. It's right. This is a hoax. Nothing's true. Now, that is out there, but it doesn't say any of the things that are in this official medical record that Clinton herself released. So why he is compelled to say, oh, this was, what is his exact words here?
Anonymous sourced gossip or something.
Oh, I got it here. Yes, I mistakenly raised an anonymously sourced report about Hillary Clinton's health. No, I'm looking at the memo that was released by her July 31st, 2015. It's a year ago.
All right, you're going to have to play the...
Yeah, we're going to play it again.
I just called a friend of mine, Dr. Robert Heisinger, who's an excellent internist pulmonologist, and we just dispassionately sat and evaluated the medical record that she had released. And based on the information that she has provided and her doctors have provided, we were gravely concerned, not just about her health care, not about her health, but her health care.
Why?
Well, it's hard for people to understand. I mean, both of us concluded that if we were providing the care that she was receiving, we'd be ashamed to show up in the doctor's lounge. We'd be laughed out. She's receiving sort of 1950 level sort of care by our evaluation. So we took a look at her record, and here are the basic facts. She had 2 episodes of what's called deep venous thrombosis. Common problem, blood clots in the leg. She also has hypothyroidism. And she'd been treated for hypothyroidism with something called Armour thyroid, which is very unconventional and something that we used to use back in the 60s. And both he and I went, that's weird. And by the way, wow, Armour thyroid sometimes has some weird side effects. Oh, well, okay. So she goes on Coumadin. That's weird. Because Coumadin really isn't even used anymore. Now we use Eliquis or Xarelto, things like this. Certainly the presidential candidate would get one of the newer anticoagulants. Then she falls, hits her head, and as a complication of that has something called a transverse sinus thrombosis. This is an exceedingly rare clot. I've only seen one of these in my career, which is a clot in the collecting system for the cerebral spinal fluid. And it essentially guarantees that somebody has something wrong with their coagulation system. Well, she's had 2 clots, a transverse sinus thrombosis. What's wrong with her coagulation system? Has that been evaluated? And oh, by the way, Armour thyroid associated rarely with hypercoagulability. So the very medicine the doctors are using may be causing this problem, and they're using an old-fashioned medicine to treat it. What is going on with her health care? It's bizarre. I got to tell you, look, maybe they have reasons, but at a distance, it looks bizarre. That there ought to be some sort of standard for people that are going to lead the country or are going to be making these important decisions. This, again, Hillary may be fine with all of this. I mean, it's dangerous and it's concerning, but you can see. And by the way, there are 2 other things that gravely concerned us. When she hit her head, she had to wear these prism glasses when she came out. That is brain damage, and so it's affecting her balance. Now, clearly, it hasn't affected her cognition, but tell us a little more about that. That's profound. And then number 2, when they screened her for heart disease, again, they did an old-fashioned screen. It just seems like she's getting care from somebody that she met in Arkansas when she was a kid. And you got to wonder. You've got to wonder. It's not so much that her health is a grave concern. It's that the care she's getting could make it a concern.
Everything I hear in that clip is him referring to this report from over a year ago.
Him and his friend. There's 2 people involved.
Yeah. Well, but I guess he's not a TV doctor.
No. How about this? There is an element of slander in that report.
The Goldwater rule.
No, not the Goldwater rule. No, this is different because he's not slandering he's not slandering Hillary. He's slandering the doctor.
Right.
And there could be an element there where there was something. There may have been an element there that forced them. That's the real reason they had to take him off the air, because now they got some legal issue going on.
That's possible. That would be the way. That would be a typical way to fight back. Yeah. But for him,
he makes an apology for something that didn't happen.
That's what's odd, is for him to say, "Well, this was unconfirmed, anonymous."
That was obviously written by PR or the legal department. Said, "Here, sign this."
Yeah, poor guy.
All he was doing was actually his job. Give us some insight.
Well, I've talked to Void Zero and Mountain Vortex, and we have a spot on the stream for him for his podcast. Because that's about all he's going to be doing from now on. It's sad because I like the guy. I think he's pretty good. I like what he does, and that was a nice piece. He could come over to our side. He could do it. Drew could do it.
Yeah, he could.
And I think he could sustain himself along with his celebrity clinics and all that stuff.
I think he had a pretty sweet deal going on. It's probably irks. Okay. He's just gonna go in the penalty box for a while. He'll pop back up. He's a very good TV presenter.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how he recovers from this. We'll keep our eye on him. But again, the offer is open to Dr. Drew. The welcoming letter to the incoming class of 2020, University of Chicago. You may have heard about this.
Yeah, everyone's making a big deal about this as though it's something important.
Yes, that's
and
right.
By the way, I don't think they can sustain it. Here's the problem. Here's the reason.
Let me give it. Not everyone has read it. Not everyone has heard it.
Okay, why don't you give us the background?
A little piece of this welcoming note. that I have here. Our commitment to academic freedom means we do not support so-called trigger warnings. We do not cancel invited speakers because their topics might prove controversial. And we do not condone the creation of intellectual safe spaces where individuals can retreat from ideas and perspectives at odds with their own. That is a nice stance in today's
I like it.
bullcrap world.
I like it. I think it's fantastic.
And I'll tell you why. Something happened to Tina and I Friday night, which was, I think, now, we're not exactly sure, but I think it was part of the sickness. You know, UT is here. This is a college town, University of Texas.
Right.
We're a college party town, too, really, when you think about it.
Yes. Old
6th Street.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dirty Six, baby. So we're going to go get some food, and we're walking right next side to this big parking lot, which is in front of my building. And on the, you know, it's a sidewalk where you can walk comfortably side by side. You could even probably fit 3 people on it side by side, just walking next to each other. On one side, it's the street, Guadalupe, very busy street, certainly around 6 o'clock, 6:30. Excuse me. On the other side, this parking lot, which is actually meant to be demolished. So you kind of, if you want to get off the sidewalk, then you have to walk grass and it's rocks and it's, you know, not nice. So we're walking and we're coming up on a young woman in front of us who's probably 5 feet tall. And she's walking on the left-hand side, and we're just walking, we're talking about her day, etc. And as we're ready to pass her, she moves over to the middle and starts to slow her walk. And, you know, and Tina and I were just talking at this point, like, oh, this is really odd. So, you know, like, okay, we want to just pass her on the left. And so at this point, I have Tina's hand. I'm kind of like steering, like, let's just get around this. And as we're starting to pass her on the left, she starts to move to the left. And then she says, you know, we all have insecurities. And, you know, when you have insecurities, you can send signals about this. And it's really microaggression. And, you know, you obviously don't have the problems I have with height. And now the dispute is how old she was. I think she was, you know, could be postgraduate. It looked to me like she was someone who was in academia and just had been completely confused by this idea of safe spaces and, you know, you can't trigger me. And so I engage with it. So we're walking and said, oh, really? It's interesting. And she says, yes. And she tries to go into this long thing about how she felt unsafe that I was coming up behind her and because of my height and, you know, that I should have been aware of her insecurity of her height. And, you know, and I'm like, you don't know me. I said, my first wife was 5'3". What are you talking about? And they said, oh, deflecting. Yes, deflecting. Well, that's very typical. You do that. And then it just devolves into this. Wait, no, it gets better. And she looks at Tina and she says, well, you're obviously the pretentious one. And I'm like, hold on a second. And she looks.
Stop. Is the punchline to this? It turned out to be Janine Garofalo.
Oh man, I wish there's no, but now I'm seeing someone who's very, very ill and has been convinced that I need to acknowledge her vertical challenge as if, and I said, babe, you know how many times I hit my head on things and split it open? Deflecting, exactly. And then she says, well, you know, but you know, this is you're broadcasting. I could feel your insecurity and my insecurity. I said, so wait a minute. So your insecurity went over and blocked me from walking on the sidewalk? And she says, you're a dick. That's what you're just a dick. I'm like, all right. I just want the record to show.
You said whatever, shorty.
You started with the name calling. I was disturbed by it. This didn't seem like a crack person. This didn't.
You wandered into an insane person who has been brainwashed by the system into this craziness, this crazy woman.
This is
going to be
This is truly my analysis of what happened. Is that she has been just brainwashed with this idea that, you know, whatever your shortcomings are, everyone needs to acknowledge it, respect it, and hold it in the highest regards and make sure that they don't offend you. It was bizarre.
I'm glad you got that off your chest.
Well, I thought it was to me, it was an experience that I had not witnessed yet. And
I've never had that happen to me.
And my immediate takeaway.
I'm more aware.
You don't get out of the house, is what you're trying to say. Stop. Yeah. Not aware. Well, let's talk about politically incorrect for a moment. Although in this case, I thought it was kind of funny. John McCain is being opposed by a number of people for his senator seat.
Yeah.
And one of them is Kelly Ward. And, we're always on the lookout for all kinds of isms. Ageism was a good one in this clip.
You've had some tough words on John McCain. If you don't win the primary, are you going to support him in the general?
I probably will. We'll see. But I don't plan to lose the primary or the general. I'm actually the only Republican that can win in the general election. John McCain has fallen down on the job. He's gotten weak. He's gotten old. I do want to wish him a happy birthday. He's going to be 80 on Monday, and I want to give him the best birthday present ever, the gift of retirement.
So you think he's too old to serve in the Senate?
I think anybody who's been in Washington for almost 40 years has been there too long.
But you brought up his age. That's a tough attack.
Well, I'm a physician. I see the physiological changes that happen in normal aging in patients again and again and again over the last 20, 25 years. So I do know what happens to the body and the mind.
So you're you feel comfortable diagnosing him on air like this?
Diagnosing him as an 80-year-old man? Yes, I do.
Wow.
See, she can do that when you're a doctor, then all of a sudden you can get away with it. I'm like, no, that's
ageism.
The ageism, but she was throwing it around to, I'm a doctor, Jim.
Yeah.
I like that.
Wow. That was bad. Because everybody's different.
Yeah, of course.
And that guy, his mom is still alive, if I'm not mistaken.
No, really?
Well, she was when he ran for president.
Holy crap. I didn't know. I didn't realize that.
He's one of those long-lived guys. The guy he'll probably live for he'll be into his 90s before he drops.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Maybe older.
Easy.
Than that. Yeah.
Easy. Meanwhile, other people in their 80s can barely, they're drooling.
Big article this morning in the Dutch newspapers. Let me just see who the officials are who actually said this. The TTIP is dead. This is the US-EU trade agreement that is supposed to follow on the TPP. And according to the Dutch officials, this thing is as good as dead. No one.
Why?
Well, said no. When the talks keep getting canceled, there's no more negotiations. They feel that all negotiations with the U.S. have pretty much failed. I'm translating in real time, even though no one wants to actually admit it. So this was so he was. The politicians are more positive about the CETA.
That's something new.
Yeah, this is the Canadian EU trade agreement. So it's Canada EU trade agreement, CETA. So it seems they're going to be focusing on that and looking at the current legislature or the executive branch of Scandinavia. I'm thinking Trudeau will go all in for that, for the CETA. So that
he's an immediate sellout.
Everyone
knows what he's doing.
Everyone seems to be focusing on that.
There's something else going on now that you mentioned that. Mm-hmm. I was listening to a lot this week to Chinese material, especially the talk shows. They really give a lot of stuff away.
Hey, they got the morning shows. There you go.
They got all kinds of stuff, but I have a few things to play here. There's the Brexit thing. I got 1, 2, 3 clips from China.
Right, good. A little China package.
This is the one that actually made me kind of take notice. Now you tell me as these guys talk what they're talking about, because there's nothing I know about. This is the grand scheme, grand plan
to be held between President Putin and his Chinese counterpart, the host, Mr. Xi Jinping.
Oh, wait, stop. Let me do a little background on it. The G20 is meeting coming up pretty shortly in Hangzhou, which is one of those monster cities in China. And the pronunciation is Hangzhou, even though when you look at it, you go, oh,
yeah, there's a lot of H and G's and U's in it.
Yeah, but it's Hangzhou, because I listen. It's Hangzhou.
Shitabajo.
Hey, Joe, where are you going with that gun in your hand?
Hey, Joe.
Hangzhou. So Hangzhou is where they're having this, and they're fixing it, gussing up the town the way the Chinese do, and it's going to be the G20 is the big boys. That's
everybody shows up. Yeah.
And so they're having this meeting in Hangzhou, but they're going to know. They know that there's going to be a meeting between the head of China and the head of Putin, and they're going to. And this is what. And that's kind of the background as to what they're discussing here, and you tell me what they're talking about.
To be held between President Putin and his Chinese counterpart, the host, Mr. Xi Jinping. What will be the major issues to be addressed?
Well, between China and Russia, obviously the two countries have been getting closer and closer in terms of overall relationship, energy production, and also export to each other. And what is being expected is about further cooperation with the One Belt, One Road initiative by China, and also the EEC, basically from the Russian side. Somehow they will bring all the countries, Russia, European countries, and China, Central Europe together. It's a grand scheme. We don't know the details yet, but I guess after the summit, after the meeting between the two presidents, probably we will get more about the details of the grand plan. How will it be helpful to both sides and also to countries within this grand scheme?
It seems like there's a grand plan between Russia and China.
And the EU, or the EEC.
Which
is a subset.
Yeah.
Huh. What do we know about this? Is this thanks to the sanctions? Are we actually purposefully driving China?
Yes.
During the Nixon administration, all the Kissinger stuff that we heard, the idea was to keep those two apart, away from each other.
Oh, yeah. No, they're trading oil.
That was the American policy.
Yeah, but they're doing oil deals, not in dollars, I might add. They're doing all kinds of stuff together.
Why are we doing this? Why are we pushing those two together when it's always been the American policy until recently, until the Kagans came along and the Newlands came along and Hillary? Why are we pushing them together?
Because, John,
the idea was never to do that. What's going on?
Because we have always been at war with Eurasia.
We're just causing trouble for ourselves.
No, I think it's dumb. I think it's dumbness from Valerie Jarrett. It's her call. It's all her idea. You got to blame somebody. We might as well blame her.
Grand scheme, the grand plan. Okay, well, just on the NBC, I haven't heard it.
No. I have a question for you about
that. They don't even talk about the G20 having a big meeting in Hangzhou.
I got a question for you about Chinese TV. When I was with my friend Michelle in France, now you got to understand the Dutch do this too. If they have a holiday home, which Michelle effectively has, they will order, he's in London, so he ordered another Sky satellite box. So it's a decoder box, and it's sold by Sky TV, I think. Of course, you get BBC and CNN, but it's a Sky box. And what they do is they take that with them and put it in their vacation home so they can watch the BBC when they're in another country. This is a very British thing.
You could do that here.
Of course. But on the Sky box, there's at least 5 different Chinese news channels. And the observation we both had was the news are completely portraying themselves with dress and how they speak, because, of course, the English is perfect. Very, very British, kind of like old school British. They're really styling themselves towards almost BBC, really old school BBC. And it's interesting to watch because it seems like a pure kind of assimilation attempt. And it's not just all, well, China this, China that. It's a bit like RT in that regard, but they're really trying to fit into a lineup of British news.
Well, they don't even make that attempt here.
Okay.
Maybe. I haven't seen it.
Okay, so it's not the same stuff then. Maybe it's just the stuff they do for them.
I don't know. I don't know, but I know this. The Chinese are thinking of buying up the UK. Let's play this guy.
They don't already own it?
No. Now, this is a very funny little segment. This CCN Brexit guy in the UK.
Yeah.
They talk about what buying up the UK. Now, this is cheap, and there's one guy said, well, it's not really that cheap, and they go back and forth. But the beginning of this clip, the Chinese guy asked, there's a Chinese guy host, and there's a Chinese guy, businessman from China, and a Brit, and they Chinese guy asked about, well, what is a good time to start buying stuff in England? And the Chinese guy on the other side says, well, like, what's left to buy? and so I thought that was kind of funny. That was kind of a quick hit, but then they went and actually discussed it seriously. Let's listen.
And opportunities for the Chinese investment to have an M&A in Britain.
What is there to buy in Britain?
I was
leading a panel in our London office last week, and they said, don't you think this is a great time to come and buy businesses in Britain because the pound's devalued? And I said, well, so's the EBITDA stream, so tell me why it's a better time than it was before. We don't know what Brexit's going to mean. I look at it, I don't even know how Britain's going to get out of the EU. It's great to say the vote's done and out is out, but you look at the difficulty they're going to have before they exercise under Article 50, how they're going to negotiate all these treaties. So I think it will lead to a slower economy in Great Britain, lower values. That may turn around. There is, one of the common themes about Chinese investors is they have a longer-term horizon and a lower hurdle rate than other parts of the globe. I always hate stereotypes and generalizations, but if you believe that's accurate, maybe it is a good time to go buy.
Well, that's interesting in regard to what he said about Article 50. The Telegraph in the UK is reporting that Theresa May will not hold a parliamentary vote before triggering Article 50.
That's what I heard. I heard that too, but when's that going to happen?
Well, it also seems unconstitutional for them.
I think the whole thing's they're not going to do anything.
It's not going to happen at all.
They're too deep.
No, it's not going to happen at all. We were expecting a redo or a do-over, and maybe they still craft it into something like, well, we've been working on this for a year now, and sentiment has changed. Maybe we should check in again with everybody.
Yeah, we want to keep a hand on the pulse. The pulse of
the people. Yes.
Well, something screwy about that. So anyway, I thought that was that part of it was the most interesting part where he says, I don't know how they're going to get out of this anyway. Yeah. Now, here's another one. This is the last one. This is again, a discussion with different people. These are all Chinese. Mm-hmm. And they're very glib about something. And we know this. We've talked about it on the show that the Chinese go into Africa. They go in here and they go in there. And they don't give a crap. If you're the worst government in the world and you're shooting every other person on a daily basis on television just for kicks, they don't care. They don't get involved like we do. The United States, we won't do business with corrupt governments, supposedly, unless the corruption is good enough you can get your tens of millions of dollars into the Clinton Foundation. Sorry. Now, the Chinese, and when the Chinese explain what they do, which is what they're going to do right in this clip, this second CCN clip, the first thing I thought of was Star Trek.
Well, hold on. Let me review. Now, what we know about the Chinese, particularly what's usually about oil and minerals, they go in, they say, all right, we're going to build your schools, we're going to build your roads, we're going to build your hospitals, we're going to use your people. And then they start to build the roads, the schools, the hospitals. They bring in all their own people. They never leave. They build it all. Then we usually come along and go, hey, gooks, get out. We're taking over this. That's usually how it works.
Well, if we can, but they build all the infrastructure. They build a lot of roads. They build a lot of stuff. They're builders.
They're definitely builders, yeah.
And but the thing that reminds me of Star Trek is that the Chinese approach to all these nations that they go in and they try to loot them, I think. But that's an American perspective, is the Prime Directive.
Oh, so who would they be on Star Trek?
They would be the Starship Federation of Planets, which have this Prime Directive, and you see this.
Aren't they the Ferengi? Wouldn't they be the Ferengi?
No. This is first Star Trek. We're not talking about the bull crap Star Treks that came later.
I'm sorry. Screw the Ferengi. F you, Ferengi.
This is the Prime Directives. You're not a Star Trek guy.
To seek out new worlds and new civilizations.
See, you don't know what I'm talking about. This is the point I'm making. So I'll explain it to you. The Prime Directive, which dominates the first couple of Star Trek shows and most of the movies, is that you can go to a foreign, an alien place, and the Prime Directive is you can't screw with their culture, you can't screw with their laws, you can't screw with their traditions, you can't screw with them. You can't do anything that would change the course of history in their little area. You can go in and visit, say hi, grab a few fruits, go back and ingest the fruits, and then fly away. You can't. This government stinks. We don't like you, and then start shooting up the place to change their government. That's kind of the prime directive, and that dominates the early Star Trek thinking. The Chinese are utilizing the same kind of prime directive. Completely opposite of what we do. And here they kind of explain it.
United States. So if what China can bring, we're not bringing conflicts to any region. What we're trying to provide to the world.
But I'm afraid you have underestimated China's reluctance to be a major player, to broker deals, serious ones in the Middle East, because given the complexity of ethnic and religious rivalry between Sunnis, Shiites, moderates and extremists, secular ones and fundamentalists, jihadists, so on and so forth, it'll be a graveyard for the major powers. Don't you think so?
I totally agree. I think, you do see like a Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Iran, Egypt, and also Saudi Arabia. China is trying to play a role, like a neutral role, basically to be friends with everybody in this Middle Eastern region here, which has been known for not only oil production, but also chaos, let's say. So China is trying, Chinese is following this principle of non-interference in domestic affairs. If it's Saudi Arabia or Iraq or Syria, that's your own domestic affairs. We don't want to interfere. But what we can do is to do infrastructure in construction or issuing loans, soft loans to help you if you need the help. But we don't impose our wills on your national construction. So that's one way, particularly very different from the U.S. practice there.
Yeah, it's a unique selling proposition.
Yeah.
So the reason why I was thinking about it during that clip, I don't know that about the prime directive of Star Trek. I was more a Speed Racer guy. I watched Speed Racer instead of Star Trek.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Hey, a monkey who can drive a race car. Are you kidding me? So are they promoting this? Is this like a PR job? Is kind of what it sounded like to me.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go. You want to do business with the United States and risk regime change? Or do you want to do business with the Chinese who are hands off? Hey, if you want to be a bunch of weirdos, we don't care. Yeah, it is a sales pitch. This is the old China's always going to be there. Reliable. We're reliable, and we don't mess with you.
Yeah, we got to keep our eye on that.
This is a bad thing.
Yeah.
This is a very bad situation.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Particularly because, they've got to deal with Russia.
And now what's going on there? This whole situation
it's been poorly handled.
It's very poorly handled, and it's getting worse, and it's not going to get any better.
Hey, there's something going on in British Parliament. I'm sure some law or something is coming up, and it has to do with ISIS, ISIL, Daesh, the Caliphate. Woo, Allahu Akbar. 3 different members of Parliament stood up, all backbenchers, and it was one of those kind of emptier sessions, but they were reading off kind of the same script, and it was to explain how incredibly evil Daesh is, ISIS, which, of course, as you hear... This one clip, I only took one clip and just a little bit. It went on for an hour, all of these different testimonials about how evil it all is. It seems like there's a ramp up for some big participation of the United Kingdom of Gitmo Nation. Listen to this.
Yesterday evening, here in the UK Parliament, we heard the truly harrowing personal testimony of a brave 16-year-old Yazidi girl called Akhlas. She was seized, along with others from her community, by Daesh from her home in Sinjar, northern Iraq. At age 15, she saw her father and brother killed in front of her, told of how every girl in her community, over 8, including herself, was imprisoned and raped. She spoke of witnessing her friends being raped and hearing their screams, of seeing a girl aged 9 being raped by so many men that she died. Many young girls had their fragile bodies rendered incapable of pregnancy, and others, far too young to be so, were made pregnant. Horrifically, she spoke of seeing a 2-year-old boy being killed, his body parts ground down, and then fed to his own mother.
Oh, man. This is better than the incubator story. This is
Wow.
a 2-year-old boy ground down and fed to his mother.
That story.
Bam!
I think they're feeding the kid to the mom.
Think of the children.
Just unbelievable.
I think, by the way, I think that story is a rewrite of something we heard a couple of years ago.
There's more.
I don't think that's a new story.
Well, there's another 45 seconds that I put some more stuff in. I know. And it was all like this, John. It was all. But when the kid was ground down and fed to his mother. Wow.
She spoke of seeing a 2-year-old boy being killed, his body parts ground down and then fed to his own mother. She told of children being brainwashed and forced to kill their own parents. Fortunately, she managed to escape her prison during a bombardment of the area around it. Others are not so fortunate. We also heard from another woman, Yvette, who'd come directly from Syria for last night's meeting and spoke of Christians being killed and tortured, of children being beheaded in front of their parents. She showed us recent film footage of her talking with mothers, and more than one, who had seen their own children crucified. Of another woman who saw 250 children put through a dough kneader and burnt in an oven. The oldest was 4 years old.
Oh, man. I don't think anyone could top the grounding down the baby beef. The baby beef burger. But we've seen this. Well, we've seen this behavior. We've seen this behavior, and that's why, to me, it was a total callback to the incubator babies.
Right, the thing that was orchestrated by one of the Burston Marstell or Hill and Knowlton, one of the big PR companies.
Yeah, it was the guy's daughter, and she goes in and says, "Oh, they came in and they the Revolutionary Guard, or they threw the babies out of the incubators on the ground."
Yeah,
it turned out to be not true.
No, the whole thing was a big lie.
Yeah,
for a purpose.
So when this happens, and when these are scripted little ditties they're doing.
Something's up.
Something's up. We need
something that's going to cost you money.
And if you're brown and you live in a sandy area, it's time to take cover because someone's coming for you.
Nobody mentions, of course, the butchery that takes place with all the bombings in Yemen, which is backed by us.
Well, didn't we pull out? Didn't we pull out?
That's what they say, but there's no evidence of it. And the Saudis are still bombing there, and it's our gear. I don't know that we were really doing that much bombing personally as American
I think
pilots.
We're painting the targets. I watched 13 Hours yesterday. Then I'll tell you the backup. The reason why I watched it. So I sent the Leaner report to one of our military intelligence people who was one of our producers. And he actually sent a note back, which I think I forwarded to you. He said, CIA, there's more and more military guys in there now. So they're definitely not all in for Hillary.
Well, I never thought the rank and file would necessarily be for Hillary, but the command structure.
Well, that's what I said. I said, well, how about Brennan? And he came back and said, oh, it's just a pencil pusher. These guys are pencil pushers. They're not really running the show. Like, okay, that's interesting. He sure seems to be running the show. And then he said, and by the way, even Hollywood is turning against her. I said, what?
I don't see this.
Well, okay. So that's what I said. I don't see any evidence. He said, nah, but I won't talk about it because, I may be consulting or something. But boy, you should. I don't think any of the cast of 13 Hours is going to vote for Hillary. And this is the Benghazi story, but it's Michael Bay. That's a Michael Bay production and direction. And I'm pretty sure that's what he was talking about. And when you see that movie, oh, man. Yeah, you will not vote for Hillary after seeing that movie.
Is this movie out? I don't even know what movie you're talking about.
Oh, 13 Hours. It's about the Benghazi affair. It's all about what happened at the consulate and the CIA annex in Benghazi. And how they were waiting for people to come in.
I haven't seen it promoted.
It won multiple nominations, I think, for Academy Awards even. It's on Netflix now. Yeah, gee, I wonder why no one promoted that movie. Let me think. Makes Hillary look bad. I wonder, should we promote this?
That doesn't sound to me like Hollywood's turning. It sounds like one movie.
Yeah, but it's a pretty big guy. Bay is
Michael Bay, but Michael, he's definitely a guy who knows how to make money as a movie maker.
And as predicted, we were talking about the Burkini issue in France. I was boots on the ground as the anti-terrorist forces were pepper spraying people trying to get onto the beaches of France and then at gunpoint making women take off their burkinis. Well, finally, the U.S. press has gotten a hold of it. And as you can imagine, it is just an outrage. We can't believe it. I think it's time to bring back freedom fries.
This week, a woman in Nice was forced to strip, 4 armed officers standing over her, then fined. She's Muslim, accused of violating a new law against so-called burkinis, a bikini that's more like a burqa, covering almost everything and designed to give Muslim women more freedom.
It was part of integration.
I just got to love the framing. It was designed to give Muslim women more freedom. More freedom.
Yeah. Beautiful. Where did this come from?
This is, I think it's NBC. This is Today's Show.
Okay, NBC.
Yeah, I have a little more of this, but I just love that. More freedom. You can have any car you want as long as it's black. I mean, this is crazy.
Almost everything, and designed to give Muslim women more freedom.
It was part of integration. It was part of combining the culture.
This is the designer who apparently came up with it, the whole idea.
Muslim women more freedom.
It was part of integration. It was part of combining the cultures.
The ban has sparked protests.
There are better ways of dealing with fear than division.
Online, this tweet: "You should be weeping, France." And this, a picture of Jacques Cousteau fully covered. In this secular country...
Jacques Cousteau in his diving suit, which, arguably looks like a burkini on the top.
France. And this, a picture of Jacques Cousteau fully covered. In this secular country where it's illegal to wear crosses in schools and veils over faces, most support the burkini ban. You come to France, you have to live like the French, this man says. Still, for some, it's political. There are more important things like education and women's rights, the mayor of Paris said.
Yeah. So finally, it's caught on a little bit. I don't know if we're, but the thing is, France is our partner in, in Syria and Libya and, in the oil business. So we can't really make too much noise about them. But if Donald trumpets any of this, that would have been rather interesting to watch. So, So I think we just won't see much more about it at all.
There's a lot of coverage of this on RT. I had a couple of possible clips, usually with some apologist that says this with the same nonsense that gives women more freedom, and then another guy saying this is the only reason they're doing this is to provoke, hate, and it's an interesting thing that's going on. I don't know I don't know how much business it is of ours.
Well, the business it is of ours is. Here's a country who has been pounded, slammed, hammered by terrorist attacks, butt slammed by terrorist attacks, and they are doing something about it, which is, who's that?
I don't know.
Do you want to pick it up?
Usually I kick the phone so it doesn't ring during the show.
Maybe it's an important call. Maybe it's Mimi. She's been listening and she has a comment. Let's listen in with John as he talks to some person on the phone. We'll take off the noise gate so we can hear what he's saying.
What?
Well?
Hello? No, I don't want your beans. I have no desire to buy beans from you. Goodbye, sir. All right, took care of that. It was a random bean salesman.
No. Really? No, you're messing with me now. Yeah. Bean salesman. No, but eventually, this is exactly what we're grappling with here in the United States about extreme vetting and how can you test someone's conscience. And so, there are symbols. It's very hard to explain why I agree with what they're doing, having grown up in this changing multicultural society in the Netherlands, and also to some degree in Belgium and in the United Kingdom. You really understand where people are coming from. Although intellectually, you're like, well, that's not okay. How can we tell people what to wear and, if you have religious freedom? But on the other hand, when you see your street, the picture of your street, as they say, change into just black hooded things, but this is a problem for people. So I'm not quite sure what to say about it other than that I think France is pretty bold to say, no, we are going to stop this because this is a problem and it makes people uncomfortable. And we're just drawing the line here. I think it's a very interesting case that cannot be discussed in mainstream. It won't really be discussed. Always like, oh, you said this, he said this. Oh, this is stupid. There's nuns on the beach. But really, when it comes down to the problem, problem, people, and I'm not sure I have anything to add to it other than I do understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, I know you do.
How about you?
I'm on your side.
Yeah. But how do you square that with a constitution or freedom? Freedom.
Well, if you're that free, why don't you walk around naked? There used to be a guy in Berkeley that was the naked guy, and he'd walk around naked. And there he goes. He's going naked. They didn't know what to do about this guy. He finally moved.
Was that your swinger friend, or was that someone else?
No, I never knew this guy, but he was the naked guy. It was, I think, for about 4 or 5 years, he would walk around. He was just naked all the time, wandering around. And they didn't know what to do. They were, what are we going to do?
I think
they just hoped it didn't become a trend. It never became a trend. They had there was a thing, I got photos. There was a big gathering about, I think, 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago in one of the Berkeley People's Park in Berkeley. And it was the naked gathering, naked tribes, whatever it's going to be called. And so you go over there just because I had my camera and I said, this has got to be a gem. So I went over there and they were going to have a naked parade. And they're all over there naked. It was like, whoa, this is the worst, most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Most people shouldn't be naked. Pretty obvious when you see them. And I took a couple of photos from a distance, and I took off. It was just kind of creepy. So, these things happen. That's part of the Constitution. Can't you be naked?
Here's
There's dress codes.
Here's a fun fact. # fun fact. When I was living in London, if you would go to Harrods, which is, it's kind of the classy department store, and if you would watch the women's lingerie department, which I sometimes found myself in, you would see women come in with niqab, so that's the burqa with the eyes visible, just to make it easy, or full-on burqa, a lot of that. And they would be buying the most unbelievable lingerie, very high, top-end, most expensive stuff. And so underneath all that, there's something going on,
I guess.
And I think
that tells me that women like to, doll themselves up on occasion and wander around in a burqa or that black thing, that solid black garb.
Niqab.
Which you see the solid black. There's no eyeballs showing. Which you see when you go into the Middle East and hang out in Dubai. It's like all the women are dressed like that. It's just, and it's, by the way, it's 110, and they're all in this black thing. It's almost, I think, to torment them.
Yeah.
And the guys, meanwhile, are wearing the dish dash, white. It's a white outfit. Mm-hmm. Women are in the black outfit. It's sweating like a pig, I guess, underneath.
I got a note from one of our producers who is in, where is he now? I think he may be in Egypt. I was listening to episode 854, heard about the French guy wanted a clip saying that in Arab countries, women can't wear bikinis on the beach. And he said, I do want you to tell you that you can wear bikinis on the beaches in the following cities. Dubai, where he currently lives. This is Allah, who wrote us. Abu Dhabi, Beirut, Amman, Giza, and Sharm Sheikh in Egypt. I just thought it was interesting.
You have a lot of weird rules. I've told this story before. We went to the opening of PC Mag Middle East, and it was in Dubai. Mm-hmm. And so we went.
Oh, that must have been a party. Was it back in the 80s, 90s when they had money?
They still have money. And it was a party. Yeah, it was true. And I'm at some hotel when one of the Saudi princes, I'm hanging out with this guy. And he says, you want to go get a beer?
Wait, are you smoking a hookah with him?
No.
Okay.
He says, you want to go get a beer? And I looked at him. I said, you can have a beer? He says, well, and because there was a bar in this hotel. It was like an English pub style bar. He says, but I have to change. And so he goes upstairs and he comes back down with wearing jeans. He had the robe on, the dish dash, as they like to call it. Mm-hmm. And he goes upstairs and he changes into a pair of jeans, AC/DC T-shirt, and sunglasses. And then we go to the bar, and he explains to me that if you're a Muslim, a Saudi, or whatever, you can go to these bars, but you can't be wearing the traditional garb. If you're wearing the traditional garb that he had normally wore, he would be arrested.
Wow.
But it was okay to wear the T-shirt and jeans.
The T-shirt and the jeans. Interesting.
Which is, so you can be, like, if I dress, what he was, subtext to this to me was, if I dress like a dirty pig from the West, I can go into this bar where, where it makes more sense. And so he, and I don't know if he drank a beer or not, but a lot of Muslims drink. So,
I have not heard you tell that story. I don't remember that.
I thought I've told that story. I've told the story. I tell that story once in a while because I was always kind of like shaking my head over it. He says, yeah, I can be in here. It's no problem, but I can't be in here. And you look around, there was not one person, obviously, because you get arrested if you're like a native in the bar, dressed like one.
I was in Dubai many, many years ago with Patricia and Christina, and I remember it was not okay to have a bikini on the beach. There was one place, like the water park across from Burj Al Arab. Yeah, that was okay, but that's kind of its own. I recall a lot of warnings.
I don't remember that either. In fact, I was lectured to an extreme by this British expat when I was hanging out there, and he was giving me everything I needed to know about everything. He says that most of the British and the others foreigners that live in Dubai, they live in compounds that are closed to Arabs.
Yes.
He says you have to do that. He says it's not because we don't want Arabs in the place or anything, but he says it creeps out all the women because they have private pools and the women are dressed in normal bathing suits. And if there's an Arab anywhere nearby, he'll just pull up a seat and put himself right next to the pool and stare at him like he's going to kill him or rape him or something. He says it's very creepy. So you have to have these private compounds that you have to have a key to get in. You have to be a member and all the rest of it. And it said they always say it's because of racism, but it's not. It's because of this creepy quality of these guys coming in and staring at the women.
Well, Christina got back from Amman, Jordan. She did that little reality show. It was more like send a celebrity to a place they'd never been, which I'm envious. I would have loved to have gone to Jordan. And so I talked to her finally last night, and she said, wow, man, that men are a-holes there. She says, really, they're really, really a-holes. Except for one, she said there was some guy who I think maybe he was the camel rental guy or something, and because, of course, they had to ride camels. And he was like, oh, I probably forgot to send you the picture, but when Christina puts on
you told us
a hijab, she looks perfectly like she fits right in. Yeah, okay, I'm making a point. But the guy was like, oh, you are a perfect Bedouin bride. You have to stay here. You have to stay here, yes. But she said otherwise.
Becoming a Bedouin out of the blue is kind of an interesting idea.
Well, she said that the men were really obnoxious. She found Amman itself to be dirty and nasty. She didn't like it at all. But she did she did like the food. They did one of those, they buried the food in the sand all day things. Have you ever heard of this?
I'm sure the food in the Middle East is fabulous.
Yeah, she said it was really good. Really good.
It's when you get the grease where it starts to deteriorate.
Exactly.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Well, let's thank a few people for show 855. Starting with Sir Robert Tennant, one of our New Zealanders, who comes in with $144.49 with also a request we should pay attention to it. This brings him to, he says, this brings me to $1,500 and marks 5 years of constant $11.11 monthly donations.
Wow.
Huh? So what you can do if you...
Yeah, that's fantastic.
5 years. Plus a $666.60. PayPal hasn't fallen over, even with the credit card changes. And then he says, fuck cancer would be appreciated, as I've just had a prostatectomy. The prostate removal.
Listen
he said, and then he has this little tidbit which he put in here. Nobody tells you that your dick is 1 inch shorter after the operation.
Oh, man.
If cancer isn't enough.
Yeah, hello, this is for you, Sir Robert. Man. And a little bit of karma to add to that.
Terrible.
Yeah.
You've got
Karma.
Now, but what I've heard is that it oftentimes will no longer work. That is the big... My neighbor had that in New Jersey.
Well, the thing that's even more interesting is that the statistics show whether you do something or do nothing, it has no effect on the final outcome.
This is what I learned from Warren Buffett, who said, I'm not going to have them I'm not going to radiate my a-hole.
Yeah, Buffett's fine.
Have you had a test?
I had it years ago.
Should I do the test? Everyone says, you're 50, you got to do the test.
No, screw it.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's what you wanted to hear, and that's what you got.
Mm-hmm.
Sir Hugger of Kittens in Zondam, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No need for blankets or food. Just hug more kitties.
Woo.
He says your bi-weekly dose of sanity donated to you by the C&B. Donate before it's too late. So he just wants people to donate, and they should.
Right on.
I agree.
Right on.
Pete Federici in Slidell, Louisiana. Interesting. He's dry as a bone, New Orleans, he says at the end. But $101, and he's got a birthday coming up and would like some jobs karma, so we'll put that at the end of this segment.
Yep.
Wesley K. Walker in Pacifica, California, $100. William Machinsky in Evanston, Wyoming, $99.99. Sir Joel Blazik in Reno, Nevada. Boob, 8008.
We have a jingle for boobs, John. We got a jingle for the boobs segment. We have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
8.
8 boobs.
Boob, 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 boob,
boob.
Yeah. It's a winner.
Sir D.H. Slammer, thank you very much.
Yeah, okay.
Good work.
Melissa Hodges in Oklahoma City, boob. E.H. Flutart in Leiden.
Flutert. E.H. Flutert.
E.H. Flutert.
And in
Leiden.
Leiden. He has a douchebag call out for Gerbrand Smit.
Douchebag. And there it is. It's Christopher Blanco in Mayfield Heights, Ohio, boob. Sir Fudge Fountain, K-A-T-I-Y. 73s.
Yeah, 73s, Kilo 5. Alpha Charlie.
And he says, please play my boob jingle. That's Sir Fudge Fountain. That's not D.H. Slammer.
There's a different jingle, I think.
Is it a different jingle?
I think so.
All right, we'll play that jingle next time. Sir Herb in Sugar Hill, Georgia, 8008. Sir Herb Lamb, I think. Joe Reynoso in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. He says something. And
he said, I'm from Wisconsin, not Michigan. Yeah, we're sorry.
John said I was from Michigan in the last 2 donations.
Way to go.
I don't think so, but maybe. But he hates those people from Michigan bastards. Curtis Barton in Springville, Utah.
Yes. In the morning, I'd like to thank my great friend Justin Hill for his courage on his birthday. I think that's in the notes. He hit me in the mouth a couple of years ago. I've been enthralled by your analysis, along with the wit and banter that accompanied it ever since. Now, let's slam my office mate, Scott Markland, as a douchebag. He's listening on my dime. Oh, all right. Ooh, that's a butt slam.
That should stop. Josh McDonald, double nickels on the dime. Sir Kevin Payne in Richmond, Virginia, 5432. William Hodgson in Palmdale, California, $53 even. Eric Hochul, Sir Eric in Berlin, Deutschland, 52. James McClure in Fort Worth, Texas, 5115. William Welburn in Kennesaw, Georgia, 5033, very famous Civil War area there in Georgia. Michael Misiolik, I think. Misiolik, that's probably it. Misiolik in Lincoln Park, Michigan, not Wisconsin. David McLean in Cuba, Missouri. These are all $50 donors, name and place. Burley Vandergriff, West Hollywood, California. Ben Durall in Malta, New York. Shad Rich, $50. Bryn Evans, parts unknown. Donald Napier in Oviedo, Florida, 50. And wrapping up here, we got Ross Turpin in Troy, Kansas. Gerald Anabane in Union, South Carolina. Peter Totes I think he's in the UK, isn't he? It says US, so okay. Sir Peter Totes, by the way.
Yeah.
Honky Tonk Willie in Anchorage, Alaska. Sir Mark Tanner in Whittier, California. Sir Alan Bean here in Oakland. And finally, Sir Michael Allen, Knight of the Railroad Conductors.
Yes. It's a lot of familiar names here, I have to say. It's very nice to see the familiar names. Love to see some new ones.
New names are better.
I did get
better. They're just different.
I got helpful. I have a make good here from the last show. Michelle Winton donated $50, and that was she wanted to call out her husband Todd as a douchebag. But of course, by mistake, we referenced her as Michael, so that didn't quite go over as well.
I don't remember that.
Well, it doesn't matter. We fixed it now. It's the customer is always right, John.
Yes, the customer is always right.
And then from Baronet Donald of the Fire Bottles, hey, I sent a donation by check, $160.16 for show 854. However, I cleverly forgot to include my customary note on Starfleet Command letterhead. So apparently he sent an email explaining what happened. But anyway, so we're sorry, and he what he said was, here's a double-breasted donation of $106.16 for you to fondle. Though the donations may wane during the dog days of summer, the quality of the shows does not. Cheers, Baronet Donald the Fire Bottles. Thank you very much. Fabulous.
Right.
Do we have anything
He knows what I'm talking about when I say Prime Directive. That guy.
Yeah, that guy. Of course he knows. Well, thank you, everybody. Once again, a lot of familiar names. It would be nice if other people stepped up and contributed to the value for value system. And, of course, our show coming up on Thursday will be ample opportunity for that.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Jobs Karma by request.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And here we go with the list for today. We say happy birthday to Pete Federici, turns 35 today. Christopher Blanco, happy birthday to his smoking hot wife, Ashley. She's also celebrating today. Curtis Barton, happy birthday to his friend Justin Hill. His birthday today as well. And I say happy birthday to my loins. Christina Curry turned 26 yesterday. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe.
It's your birthday, yeah.
Bada bing. Let me see. Did we have any changes in titles? No. We do have one knighting. So,
okay, let me get my thing.
Wow, that was a little close to the mic that time. Sorry about that. All right, Anonymous, you know who you are. We know who you are, but you want to be anonymous, so you come on up to the podium, please. Thank you very much for your contributions to the No Agenda Show in the amount of $1,000 or more for your value that you received. And that, of course, gives you a place at the round table of the Knights and the Dames of the No Agenda Show. So I am hereby very proud to pronounce the KD, Mr. Anonymous, as Circumference Knight of the No Agenda Roundtable for you, based on your preference: hookers and blow, Ren Poison, Chardonnay, cookies and vodka, meth sluts and moonshine, meat and water, garlic and broccoli, crickets and cream, cheap wine and chili dogs, hot pants and booze, ginger ale and gerbils, and of course, mutton and mead. And we welcome you to the round table. Please go to noagendanation.com/rings and give Eric the Shill your details, and we'll get it out to you as soon as possible. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Makes the work worthwhile. And it also shows the difference, really, between what we're doing with our media product, which you really are producing, and, I don't know, let's say NPR or other mainstream outfits who are really trying to not have you participate. We did a story, talked about this story a couple of shows ago, that NPR is turning off all their comments because, well, I picked up a piece by Smirkonish. That's the douche who does the media-based reporting on CNN. Of course, they rarely report about their douchiness, and I thought it would be really interesting just to listen to where he and the mainstream media are coming from when it comes to shutting down your feedback loop into what they are reporting. Now, this is NPR, this is CNN. These are real journalistic organizations who are shutting it down. Now, of course, we can kind of figure out why they're shutting it down because it's, there's horrible things being said. But you listen to this guy, he is, without a doubt, media elite. and you can hear where they're coming from with their reporting, which is anything but this type of interaction we create here.
This election cycle has turned a lot of social media into anti-social media. People's Facebook feeds are increasingly fractious, reflecting our coarse and polarized national political dialogue. Matter of fact, a piece in tomorrow's New York Times Magazine about Facebook's political pages quotes page operators likening comments to torch-wielding mobs and sharks in a feeding frenzy. That's a part of why NPR recently discontinued comments on any of its news stories at npr.org. The other reason? NPR discovered what I've always suspected about such forums. Only a tiny percentage of their users were doing most of the posting. 0.06% of their 33 million viewers. I applaud NPR. It's been years since I read any of the comments on my own Sunday column in the Philadelphia Inquirer. I found them to be largely angry, uncivil, and certainly unresponsive to the merits of whatever I was arguing, and not worthy of a response, especially when commenters hide behind pseudonyms. While the internet has made our lives exponentially easier, the use of technology is not without its drawbacks. And one liability, the beer muscles that some grow when given the opportunity to express themselves anonymously. Just like the drunk who has an inflated measure of his power by closing time, many bloggers adapt a tone and they say things online that they would never offer if their faces were seen and their identities known. Our political dialogue is far too coarse. Nasty anonymous comments are a significant part of a much bigger problem. But it's one aspect that we can easily control, just like NPR just did.
Shut up, audience. You're stupid.
There's a bunch of mistakes and mistaken thinking involved with this guy. And I will put myself into a very established position. I have a major standing because I actually started my online stuff during the CompuServe era when we had something at PC Magazine called PC Magnet.
Yeah, I remember this.
And that was way back. That was in the 80s. Now, the thing about comments is, if you say, even if you say something very well thought out or something douchey, it really doesn't make any difference. You're going to get a lot of negative comments. The point of leaving the comments there is not really, it's not about you, douche.
Douche.
It's about the reader.
Yes.
The reader reads, so I write something, and, maybe I do one of my anti-Apple things. I don't even do that anymore. It's not worth the trouble, and the Apple things change. But I write anything, and I will get a bunch of feedback of all different sorts. You get feedback from, like, some military guy because you said something wrong, and it was about a military weapon. Oh, it's a 32.44, not a 32.440.
We get those.
Or it's a... you're mixing up the 38 with a 380. You've got that. You're all screwed up, and so you get a lot of that. And but you get a lot of it, and you don't. It's not up to the writer. Once you write a piece,
you don't have to interact with them, but you can read it.
You can, or you can, or you don't even. You can ignore it because it's not about you.
Exactly.
It's about the audience that comes to read your article, and then they read the comments, and they usually, I'd say, most of the time, if not. Maybe all the time, perhaps, there is something hilarious embedded in the comments. Somebody has a one-liner. I'm not saying that I steal jokes from the commenters in certain situations, but there's a lot of funny stuff that guys will drop in there. Mean like boom?
Hell yeah.
And so to do this, I think is not a. Who cares what people think about what you just wrote? What you're doing is you're short sheeting the readers, yes. And that's what the problem is, yes. In my estimation.
There were two parts to this. The second part is he's very clear about anonymity and beer muscle, and you would never do it if your face were there. This is part of the push, and we'll see it with our mainstream media first, towards registration, real names, all of that stuff. That's where that's going to go.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they like to do. I mean, a lot of people already switched over to Discuss.
Right.
Discuss.
Right.
and there's a couple of these systems. I think Disqus was the first one. It's DISQUS something or other.
One of the first syndicated types, yeah.
Well, it's a commenting system that you subscribe to if you're running a blog or something, and then all the comments get filtered by Disqus, so you can't really just put a bunch of spam or just a bunch of cussing or something like that in there. I have an account. I use it every time I see and people, I would like to recommend people do this and listen carefully. When I'm reading something and I go to the bottom to the comments, because I might want to read a few comments. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If I see Disqus as the system, I will then comment. And because it's easy, I don't have to register. I don't have to deal with it. I've already registered, and I can put my comment in. The comment always goes like this, whatever the article is. Wow, this is interesting. In fact, this is exactly what we'll be discussing on the next noagendashow.com.
Yes. Hello, did you hear that, producers? Wait, give them the line again.
Wow, this is interesting. This is if they're producers, this is exactly what they're discussing on the noagendashow.com.
And you put under that, I am a producer.
You could. I am a producer. And
so I know.
So you produce. So you just. That's what I do constantly. Sometimes you can do a little variation, so it's customized, so it doesn't sound like just a rubber stamp.
Right.
But I do that all the time.
I like
people say, "Well, read this." I read it, and I go down to the comments. It's Disqus. Yeah. Boom, I'm in, and it's got a little No Agenda logo for my picture, and it goes. And that's what everyone should be doing.
We need kind of a no. When you say No Agenda logo, do you put that in the comment, or is it a part of your Disqus profile?
No, it's my photo.
So we need those.
When you subscribe to a lot of these services and you're on Disqus, they let you upload a photo that shows up in the comment. You got a little photo of yourself on the left, and then there's the comment. And the photo is actually a sideways No Agenda. It's not the logo, but it says No Agenda Show, and it's something from one of the stickers that looks really good as a photo.
Right.
So,
and yeah, man, they're cool because they're not alt-right; they're alt-wrong. That's what I want.
So I recommend people do that. It doesn't take a lot of work, and it helps promote the show.
I have.
And by the way, some people won't let you put links in like that. NoAgendaShow.com. Just say No Agenda Show. And then in parents, Google it.
Yeah. But I have one more clip I want to play, and then I'd love to hear have hear about your Epi-Pen thing, because I think we could discuss that for a moment. This is just lovely to hear. Sheriff Clark, is it Joe Clark? David Clark.
Joe Clark.
Is Joe Clark? I
think it's Joe. Is it Joe?
Yeah, he's the black sheriff from
Joe.
We'll just call him Joe. He's the black sheriff from Minneapolis.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
I think that's David.
I think you're right. I think it's David Clark. No, it's not, because that's Dave Clark 5. We'll find out. And it was, I'm torn about this guy, because I totally agree with everything he says, but I think the way he comes across, the sheriffs are elected, and he's an elected official, but he's got
he's loaded to the gills. He looks like Petraeus.
Yeah, it's a little too much. Which is too bad, because he is saying things I believe to be completely accurate and truthful.
The American ghetto has replaced the cotton fields where Democrats have gathered blacks in these horrible, miserable conditions. Black people have been separated from their history. They traditionally voted Republicans. It was Abraham Lincoln, a Republican, who freed the slaves. It was the Republicans in Congress who did the heavy lifting to get the Civil Rights Act passed, as well as the voting rights. The Democrats were against it. Lyndon Johnson had to appeal to Republicans, even though the Democrats controlled both houses of Congress. He didn't have enough from the Democrats, who stood in the way of the passage of those two important bills. So once we reconnect black people with their history, and which is what I've been trying to do, their eyes will open and they'll see that they've been hoodwinked by this monolithic voting for Democrats. Nothing has gotten better under Democrat control of the black vote. These progressive policies have wrecked some great American cities: Baltimore, Milwaukee. Look at Chicago right now. 455 murders to date. That's more than the deaths of coalition forces in Afghanistan since the start of Obama's second term in 2013, where 270 coalition forces have been killed. So you have almost twice as many people killed in the city of Chicago. I don't see Obama going to Chicago to help out. Obama was in Martha's Vineyard, for heaven's sakes. That's where he vacations. He spends his time on luxurious resort golf courses. He vacations in Hawaii. That's far removed from the American ghettos.
Well, his history, I think, is spot on.
Yeah. I know. It cracks me up. I'm very amused by it.
Yeah, but you go to Europe and you ask people about, well, Abraham Lincoln, he was clearly a Democrat. People just really don't know.
Clearly a Democrat.
Oh yeah. It's sad. but we do have a problem, and I talk with Tina about this all the time, because the entitlement factor of all people in the United States is really out of control. That's hard to say. Well, there are services that people receive that are philanthropic, that are paid for by the companies and individuals who offer them services, certainly in medical area, and they are just there's no gratefulness anymore. I'm not blaming anyone. But the reason it's like, oh, well, of course it's there. Of course there's something. Of course there's a safety net. Of course, and it almost everything feels like, oh, the government's taking care of me or whatever it is, and they don't even realize that there are, there's a lot of nonprofits, certainly in Austin, that they are doing this based on people's generosity, trying to keep programs afloat that the government cannot, will not, or should not be putting in place. But you combine that with really the safety net, and I'm really American a-hole about this stuff. It breeds contempt and entitlement, and the result, I think, is irreversible. I saw this in the socialist countries I grew up in, and it saddens me.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
Do more podcasts, of course.
There you go. That's the answer to everything.
Go podcasting! Woo! All right. How about this Epi-Pen bullshit? There's a lot going on with this.
Well, this Epi-Pen story. Okay, this is a story. Now we've talked about this sort of thing on the show a lot because it's something that galls me. Mm-hmm. The way the system works, and this when they were passing this Obamacare. He would every once in a while slip between medical reform and healthcare reform and insurance reform. He interchangeably used these words because this is a giant insurance scam, the entire Obamacare deal.
The Affordable Healthcare Act.
The Affordable Healthcare Act is an insurance scam. And the idea is that everybody has to have a health insurance. Okay, I got my health insurance. Well, how are these guys going to make more and more money? Well, by jacking up the price of the healthcare. And how can they do that? Well, they need an excuse. Well, the partners in arm, another one of the big donors to the Obama election, the pharmas, the big pharmas. All they have to do is just jack up their prices, and they do it with all the drugs. And they jack up their prices and jack up their prices and jack up their prices on the same product. And the end user, the person getting insurance, pays the same little out of pocket, like $5 or $10. But if you look at the numbers, if you paid attention, the base price of the drug has gone from $10 to $20 to $50 to $100 to more. And so they jacked up the prices. You still pay the $5. And you feel fine about that. But because the insurance company picks up the other $95, where they used to pick up $5, they got to charge you more for insurance. And they do that with the rationale, if they ever get taken in front of Congress, oh, no, it's not us. It's the drug companies. And so it's a scam. It's a massive scam. And so every once in a while, they find someone to bust their chop over as though it's something that's only happening to them. I believe the Epi-Pen thing is either because the company never coughed up any donations to the Obama administration or some other angle. And they're also, to make it worse, they've set up the CEO, who I've heard interviewed, this woman. I've heard her interviewed. She is a dummy. She's a dumb cheerleader that somehow got to the CEO position. No offense, women.
Listen to this. Yes, she did get to that position through her father. And one of our producers, who I have to keep completely anonymous, can't really even talk much about his note. He said, because he worked there, he said, when she came in, great tits, dumb as a rock.
Yes.
I'm sorry how that came across, but that was literally what he said.
She is a patsy.
Yeah. Yes.
And they keep pointing to her, and she's so stupid. And she made all this. Of course, she's going to walk away with a lot of money for a patsy, even though she's going to be, her life is going to be miserable. Yeah. People are going to yell at her when she walks down the street because it's like her fault for everything. And I feel actually sorry for this woman.
Yeah. Well,
she's making a lot more money.
There is one small data point about this particular product. Mylan, of course, bought the company in 2000 from Merck in 2007, and the ingredient is about to go out of patent. So it seems like, hey, one last push. Let's get as much as we can before the generics come on the market. And the FDA was supposed to approve a competing epinephrine injector.
It's not epinephrine. It's something else. It's epinephrine, I think. Epinephrine.
Epinephrine. That's what I'm saying. Well, yeah. Epinephrine. And they didn't approve that device. Convenient. Yeah. So there's no competing product on the market. It's about to go generic. Jack up the price. This is what happens. Absolutely.
But I have a clip that's kind of talks about this a little bit.
Every 6 minutes, life-threatening food allergies send someone to the hospital.
The maker of Epi-Pen running this ad 46 times during the Olympics, raising awareness while raising their bottom line, hiking the cost of Epi-Pens from $100 in 2009 to more than $600 today. And the Epi-Pen isn't the only one. The drug maker hiking the price on a slew of other medications. 24 products seeing a more than 20% spike, 7 products rising more than 100%. The drug maker CEO Heather Bresch's total compensation spiked too, from $2.5 million her first year in 2007 to $19 million today. Early this year, Bresch was asked if she thought drug prices should be regulated to make them more affordable.
I hope not, because I don't think the answer is price controls. There are certainly outliers that are grabbing great headlines, but it's not the answer.
Top Senate members giving Mylan a deadline, 2 weeks to respond to the pricing probe.
And a spokesperson for the maker of Epi-Pen, Mylan, saying that they've personally contacted all of those members of Congress and look forward to meeting with them. David?
I do have a bit of
bogus story.
Yeah, I have a bit of a report after we talked about the cost of healthcare, and particularly for me, and how it's going up thanks to the poor strategy of the Affordable Care Act. So here's the main advice I got: pay the fine, don't take the bullshit insurance. I've got at least 15 different emails of people showing me how much money they really saved, even when kid broke their arm, all the different things. Now, I haven't seen anyone say, "Oh, well, I have cancer and I'm paying for it myself." But without fail, every single one of them says, if you say to the doctor at the doctor's office, "No, I'm self-pay, I'm paying myself, and I'm willing to do that in cash if you can give me 50% discount," they take it. And the reason why is the insurance companies, they sue, they argue, they harangue with these people. They sometimes get it down to 30 cents on the dollar with the doctors. So when a doctor can get it for 50 cents on the dollar, they're happy.
My doctor told me that the biggest problem right now in the business and why people are shutting shop is because they can't deal with this. They fight everything. You come in to get a B12 shot, they fight it.
Yeah.
He says that he knows somebody. He says, I don't know, I can't prove it, but this guy told me that he worked in one of these companies, one of these insurance operations, and you are paid to, as the person taking the call, to approve the payment. You're told to fight it. Just fight it, put it off, fight it. Oh. And the thing is an absolute monster, and it's unbelievable that it's gone on this long. And what has Congress done? And then meanwhile, they make a big deal out of this Epi-Pen fiasco.
Yeah, well, that's just
a cover up. It's just a smokescreen.
Exactly. It's just a focus over. Well, actually, is what we call
the distraction of the week. Hey, on no agenda. Look over there.
Exactly. Well, there you go. You're up to speed.
I think so.
For now, I think the MTV Awards are tonight. I'm going to watch that.
I'll bet you are.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah,
don't they always have some event where two women kiss or something like that?
I don't know. I haven't been to one in a long time.
They should invite you.
Yeah, they should, but they hate me, as you know.
For no good reason.
No, I quit. If they don't like people who quit on them, then it's like, we fire you. No, you can't because I quit. But I will be watching for the satanic messaging, whatever the Illuminati want to tell us.
We want to report on that, so I'm probably not going to watch that.
No, I will bring you a full report, Yeah,
there's always some satanic thing going on at this event.
Yes. All right, everybody. Thank you, chat room, for showing up. It was good. Good times, everybody. Thank you, boys, for keeping the back end running. And thank you, producers of this program. You know who you are. You make it happen. With finances, with jingles, with artwork, with information. It is all highly appreciated. And coming to you from the Crackpot Condo in the skyscraper here in downtown Austin, Tejas. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where apparently the traffic on a Sunday afternoon and a nice breezy Sunday afternoon headed to San Francisco is all jacked up. Unbelievable. I'm John C. Dvorak.
We'll be back on Thursday right here on No Agenda. Adios! Mofos.
For 20 plus years, they've had glow-in-the-dark dogs you can buy.
And that were used to see that would come at you and get your grill.
In October, the National...
In the with a distorted portrayal,
Please come at you and get your grill.
As Noble, doing good in the with a distorted portrayal.
Take, I feel like it's a... So with every breath I take, I...
Is it all in the with a distorted portrayal? They
would come at you and get and that we're used to see.
Take, the National Enquirer...
Distorted portrayal.
Take, so every breath I... So with every breath I... Take,
I used to see that would come at you and get your grill.
October.
Distorted portrayal.
Take, like it's a...
That would catch you and at your grill. Used to see that would come at you and get your grill.
I feel like it's a... Take, I feel like it's...
A distorted portrayal.
That would come to see that would come at you.
Take, I feel
it all as conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And Clinton did your grill. Clinton is doing good in the world.
It's a... Take, I feel like it's a... Take, I feel...
Dismisses it all as
I feel take
dismisses it if this portrayal dismisses it all as
that's on ABC. A guy said come at you and get in your grill.
Like a take, I take like
that's on trail. Dismisses it all as
in your grill.
Clinton dismisses it all as
that's on ABC. A guy said come at you and get in your grill.
Clinton.
Stop spazzing and be cool.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Really high. Really high. Really high. Really high.
Wow.
By that time, it really started hitting really high. Really high. Really high.
Wow.
I couldn't stop. By that time, it really started hitting. By that time, it really started hitting. By that time, it really started hitting. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. Really high.
Wow.
I am really high.
Amen. Fist bump.
Adios, mofo.
The best podcast in the universe. Dvorak.org/NA